doesn't work for me, brother.
Hi, guys. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. And away we go. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate Tuesday. Great to be with you for another fun-filled day.
Wait, are you trying to find a song or something for Tuesday?
Of tomfoolery and shenanigans. I'm usually trying to find a song lyric.
Yeah, it was a Tuesday afternoon, but I don't know if you know that song.
Who sings it?
The guys who sing Nights in White Satin.
Nights in White Satin.
I can't remember the name of that band. I don't know.
Me either.
But it's not Tuesday afternoon, so it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Fair enough. It's not. It is Tuesday morning. Bright and early on a Tuesday morning, as a matter of fact.
It's not really bright. It's still pretty dark.
Metaphorically bright. Literally early on a Tuesday morning. And we are back for the foremost electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment. It's the Rob Brown Show right here and live on the Fan Upstate, taking you all the way up till 10 a.m. this glorious day. What a day last night. What did you do last night? You do anything good last night?
You talking to me?
Yes.
I can't see your face.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know if you're talking to me. I
don't see nobody else here.
Well, neither do I.
You must have been talking to me.
I see a body, but I don't see a face. I could look at the screen, but it's over there, and it's kind of it's like talking to the TV. I don't want to do that.
I got my sounds back.
Yeah.
What'd you do last night?
I feel like this is a setup. I did very nerd things. First of all, I babysat. Then I beat a game. Then I watched Raw. Then I went to bed. I did beat a game that I put like 4 days worth of time into.
4 days as in like 88 hours?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Was it?
Avowed. Yeah, I beat it yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah.
I played it 2 hours.
It was a pretty good game. Your choices do factor into what you do at the end. Lots of shades of gray where you don't know, okay, did I do the right thing? I guess I'll see when the game's over. And
fair enough.
And I did. So there we go.
I didn't do that.
Raw was good till I had to go to sleep.
Raw was good most of the way through.
It was also amazing that they got rid of one of the most boring champions of all time.
Charlotte's gone?
She's
not champ. That's right.
Someone that guys really like for some reason. And
it's because she's hot.
Pretty soon she's going to have as many tattoos as Shotzi.
Say it like it's a bad thing.
Well, I just don't. I mean, guys. I guess guys are really into the bad girls until they find out what the bad girls are really into, and then it's no longer a thing.
Hey, man. You're talking
There's
about
a whole
me.
lot of ew. Okay, maybe not. I mean, to each his own.
I only asked because I got home yesterday from the multiple things I had to do as a adult living in 2025, and got back to the crib at about 5:15.
Tell us about that star life, Rob.
Oh no, I wish it was star stuff. Star stuff would be fun. It was like DMV stuff.
Oh,
gotta get that real ID finished off. Adult stuff.
I actually have to renew my license next year.
Hey, go ahead and put up your RSVP to the DMV because it's a bleep show down there. Like, I always thought the DMV thing, and maybe I just got fortunate growing up in a small town, but I always thought the DMV thing was like kind of a joke. We had to go in there. I've had to go in there twice in the last 2 weeks, and like both times, they're like, take a number and we will see you like Thursday.
You don't have to go to that particular one. There are other ones.
I haven't been to one here yet that's not like that. But the point of this segment is not to complain about the DMV, as cliche and trope as that is, and as much as we're not afraid of cliches and tropes around here. I got back to the crib yesterday at like 5:15. Immediately removed pants and did nothing but watch the TV all day. We had the TGL last night. New York and Boston, little rivalry going down in Jupiter. It's less fun for New York and Boston when they're in Jupiter, Florida.
Wait. They're in Florida?
New York and Boston.
You build all that up and they're in Florida.
It's still good. It was real good.
Okay.
Watch that. Duke Wake Forest. Turns out the Dukies are pretty good at basketball. They put like a 30-point dub down on my guy Steve Forbes and his Wake Forest Demon Deacons. We had the Blue Devils and the Demon Deacons last night. And it was good. Cooper Flagg, 28, 8, 7, and 3, I think, with the stat line off the top of my head. Pretty good day for him and what is likely his last game at Cameron Indoor Stadium last night. Got the standing ovation of a send-off when he and the rest of the starters checked out with over 2 minutes left to play because the game was way more than over at that point. Full house last night. Duke last night with a dub over Wake Forest, meaning that Clemson now has one Duke game left to go to get a little assistance and try to claim a share of the ACC regular season title. Now, that's not super inspirational until you remember that final game is on the road at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, taking on the Heels in a rivalry game, baby. So, I watched a little college basketball. I watched a little spring training baseball yesterday. I watched a little NBA basketball. Dallas. Kyrie goes down last night. Bad knee injury. Stayed on the floor to shoot free throws, which is respectable, commendable. That had to be helped off by Anthony Davis. Needed some assistance walking to the locker room. If only.
Did he let him borrow his crutches? Because he probably has several pair.
Probably spare, right? If only the Dallas Mavericks had somebody on that team that could score 28-plus points per game and, help him out in that regard.
No chance it's a work that they didn't say, hey, listen, Kyrie, you got to go down. You got to take one for the team, take some time off, take it easy. You have a miraculous recovery, and it will take some of the heat off of us.
I mean, as much as I am all down for assuming nefarious conspiracies on behalf of the ownership of the Dallas Mavericks organization, I don't think Kyrie's that guy. I've given Kyrie plenty of hell before for his dumb things that he thinks. But I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's take a dive guy. Doesn't matter. The Mavs are cooked. On the flip side, I also took a peek at the NBA standings last night just because I was curioso. I don't want to alarm anybody. I don't want to panic anybody. But the Lakers are now second place in the West, Lonzo.
No.
You know what they say about me out there on the streets? You know what they say about old Rob Brown when I'm wandering around downtown Greenville, South Carolina? Got my ear to the ground. I'm listening to the people say. You know what they say about me?
They say he's a three-time winner of the best sports show in the state of South Carolina.
That's what we say about me.
Okay.
What the people say about me is, kid knows ball. Kid knows ball. 38-21, now second place. They are on a 6-game win streak, 8-2 in the last 10. They are still 11 games back of first place. But I never said they were going to win the West. I said they were going to be in the Western Conference Finals.
You just want that second seed, right? I mean, you'd be okay with the second
Hell
seed.
Yeah. Let me turn around so I can pat myself on the back.
That's not a full-on champa there. You got to really get into that.
I don't.
You probably hurt yourself trying to do what he does.
Again, never said they were getting a 1 seed. What I said was the goal when they got Luka. My only goal was host the playoff series. Host the first-round playoff series. They might host every series except the Western Conference Finals at this point. I mean, every series they win. How's that? As long as they win. So we watched a little bit of that. And then you absolutely bet your Rudy Patootie that I sat down and watched some Monday Night Raw live last night for John Cena and The Rock not to show up. Which is unsurprising.
I told you yesterday. They said they wouldn't be there till the 17th. So.
Another guy I've given a lot of hell. CM Punk got a hell of a promo to open the show.
It was pretty good, actually. It was pretty. I mean, that was the best thing
hell
of all.
Of a promo.
Making fun, the thing we've been making fun of. I kept saying, "There's no way those goosebumps are real," and him making fun of the goosebumps was awesome.
John Cena, you out here selling a bunch of bull to these kids.
And finally, Seth Rollins acting like Seth Rollins, not like all this "look at my outfit" crap.
I loved it. I thought it was good. I think I'm a pro wrestling fan.
I hate it. I was rooting for Seth Rollins last night. I never do that, but I was.
Hell of a promo from CM Punk. So we might get to that later in the show. We got to get to some basketball. We got to get college basketball. We'll get into this more in detail later in the show. But I wanted to bring it up since we're here, and I talked about it yesterday. Remember yesterday? I told you there was the KenPom statistic, the KenPom metric formula that Clemson was a part of. The formula effectively works out this way. 96% of champions dating back to the debut of the KenPom metrics. So 20 of 22 champions since this measurement has been utilized. 96% of those champs had a top 21 offense. 91% of those champs had a top 31 defense. There are, in college basketball this year, 9 teams that are on both sides of that equation, both a top 21 offense and top 31 defense. Those 9 teams, Auburn, number 1 offense, number 16 defense. Duke, number 5 and number 4. Houston, number 8 and number 5. Indiana State, number 18 and number 7. Texas Tech, 10 and 28. Arizona, 14-18. Illinois State, 15 and 23. And Clemson inside that metric, inside that bracket. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. We're going to talk more about that later on because on Saturday, we were doing bracket stuff on the show with the bracketologist from RotoWire, who was good. Was pretty good. And he said, we were talking back and forth about some dark horses, right? Like teams, maybe a Final Four run somewhere in there. Maybe a little Final Four run somewhere in that mix. And I said, you got any dark horses? And he said, I do. Right down there in your neck of the woods, Rob Brown. This was unscripted, unprompted. I didn't ask for this. He doesn't know me from Adam. He said, you just told me you're from South Carolina. I think there's a team right around the corner from you. I think the Clemson Tigers are a potential Elite Eight strategist pick this year. I said, why so? And he said, well, the KenPom metrics all show that they're doing everything right. It ain't flashy. It ain't stylish. It ain't fancy. They're not getting a ton of ESPN top 10s. But they're doing everything right. They're playing good basketball. They're fundamentally very sound. They've got a phenomenal chemistry on that roster. And Brad Brownell's hit on something a little bit. He pointed out, as we have pointed out a bunch of times. John Blau was with us yesterday. He said the same thing. You had some dudes you had to replace from last year's team that were pretty good basketball players. But you figured out some stuff. You figured out some stuff. And I respect it. So we're going to talk some college basketball later on in the radio broadcast. We've got to get to some NFL because we do have news from yesterday. Teams have just another handful of days to get their franchise tags done. T. Higgins is indeed tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals. Sam Darnold will not be tagged by the Minnesota Vikings, meaning he is available for negotiations, including with the Vikings. We got some reports yesterday on what might be happening with Sammy D, the next domino to fall in the NFL's quarterback carousel. So we're going to get to that later on in the show. I told you we needed one to fall. Matt Stafford was the first guy re-signing with the Rams. Now everybody else has got to start making adjustments and decisions around that. We're going to come to that later in the show. We got some combine stuff. I'm going to give you a list of 3 or 4 players that I think should very well be on the Carolina Panther radar if they elect to pick at number 8. I am also going to make an argument about why they should not pick at number 8 and why I think there will absolutely be a market for teams looking up to trade to number 8 and why it might be very beneficial for the Carolina Panthers to look at not just a trade down, but potentially multiple trades down. I'll tell you that later on. And apparently, my discussion about Cole's 40 became Cole's discussion about my discussion on Cole's 40 yesterday on their show because I just got in and read the text line, and it was popping off. It's popping off. Let's see here. One texter said, Rob Brown would be Michael Scott racing the speed radar sign on that episode of The Office, which is a great text. I don't know if that person's listening or not. That's a great text. I like that. Let's see. Texter said, Rob is going to count. Apparently, I don't know if Cole challenged me to a 40 or somebody else challenged me to a 40. But Texter said, Rob is going to counter the 40 challenge with a hot dog eating contest. I'm going to tell you straight up right now. We have a hot dog eating contest on this station. I am walking out of there with that gold medal.
I don't know.
I'm guaranteeing
I don't know, man. Cole is young. He's energetic. He's obviously an athlete. You might be in trouble. I mean,
Cole is my competition in a hot dog eating contest. I will say that.
I'm all about team here. I mean, you would look at people and go, "Oh yeah, Alonzo, you're probably," but this is not. Anyway, I don't.
Cole would
eat as
be my
much as you
primary
think.
competition in a hot dog eating contest. That is correct.
Because he goes at life competitively. He's a sports guy, and he will want to win.
No, see, we're back to that whole Tebow. Well, here's a winner. That doesn't matter.
Okay, I don't know.
You can do
know
it or
what
you
you're doing
can't.
there. That's weird.
I spent years listening to that. Well, he's a winner. He's a winner because he's super talented. Like, those are.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Tebow here. I was talking about Cole.
Cole's super talented too.
He's talented. I don't know about super talented, but we were talking about hot dog eating contest between you and he. Diesel would go, I'm not eating a hot dog.
Probably true. So would you.
Oh,
you food something.
Listen, I'm not poor anymore. I'm
Texter
sorry.
said, Cole, you have to start the clock before the first 20 yards. That's from Shane and Sugar Tit. That's a good text.
That's pretty funny.
Texter said we need a Cole and Rob Brown race on the live show. Let me be very clear. Cole would dust me. All right? Cole would dust me. I don't need to say I'm faster to Cole than to say I didn't think he ran a 40. Texter Jeff texted, said, I need to see this video of you running the 40. I think that clock malfunction, there's no way you ran that. And then my favorite text of the day, Dewey. Dewey texted the show and said, Rob Brown needs to be fired. The show needs to be called The Lonzo Show, and Rob needs to go back to wherever he came from, end quote.
It's Florida.
I came from Florida.
He needs to go back to
they don't want me back.
Do we want to punish him?
Yeah,
Let's
they don't want me back
send
there.
him back to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
There we go.
They don't want me back, and I'm not going back to Jacksonville. Dewey, I will stay here and make your audio life a living hell before I go back to Jacksonville, Florida.
This picture's on the side of the building. I still wonder what's going to happen if one of us happens to what they will do with that.
I ain't going nowhere, baby. Dewey, I'm in your life for a long time, brother. A long time. Maybe. We got a lot to get to, a lot to talk about, and on top of all of that, and most important,
my loins have been tingling.
the sound's back. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, quick live coming right back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you.
does it get violent in the afternoon, Kane? It gets violent in the afternoon? I mean, we're nonviolent here. Nothing but we don't like to fight here.
Steve texted the show and said, Dewey sounds like he's an offspring of a couple of cousins that shouldn't have been doing something that they were.
I'm telling you, Dewey is a Rock's nickname. It's Dwayne. Dewey is Dwayne. But again, Dewey's on my side, so I mean, I'm not going to crack on Dewey too much. What he wants will never happen because I'm just not good enough.
Afternoon was wild. Yeah, I only got to listen to like half an hour yesterday, but sometimes I don't have an answer and it bothers me. Do shootout goals count towards a player's career goal tally? I don't know.
Why wouldn't they? It's still a goal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Alonso, we got a lost groin. Matthew Tkachuk, who sustained an injury in the Four Nations face-off for the reigning defending, out for the rest of the season with a groin injury. No. This is a very sensitive subject for a young man who was a rock for Team USA in the Four Nations final-off. My man is I just combined the words final and face-off into fine-off, which is what I do every day.
Most impressive.
My man gave his groin in service for his country. I will not have jokes made about it.
Okay, wonderful off-season sports question. Which would you rather be hitting a groin with?
Nope.
A puck, a baseball, a basketball, a football, or an MMA fighter?
Okay. Not the MMA fighter, for sure. Punch or kick. Not a hockey puck, for sure. I would probably say basketball if it's an option. Because I feel like even if it's coming at like point blank range, you're getting the most surface area with which to disperse the force of the object. And number two, it's also having more surface area, going to have the most drag on it, means that you can't accelerate it as fast as everything else. With a football, you got the point of that thing. Like it's a small impact area and it's traveling at a higher velocity. Baseball, just absolutely not. So I'm going to say if you got to take one to the groin, a basketball has got to be the best option, right?
The problem with the basketball, there's no chance of just grazing. I mean, you're getting full on impact. There might be, just partial impact with one of those other things. A basketball is there's no avoiding it. If you get a groin shot with a basketball, everything gets hit.
I mean, yeah, but again, because everything gets hit, right? Like force is dispersed over the area that object A comes into object B with. And so if you're going to take something to the groin, this little point to a football, even if it like misses a little bit, I mean, you're off the hook, I guess, but you didn't say have a shot at taking a shot to the junk. You said take a shot to the junk. So I'm working on a 100% efficiency and accuracy.
So you're definitely getting impact.
Basketball's the way to go.
Yeah,
you're dispersing. I mean, some of you may take the full contact of the basketball, but most of us aren't. You're catching some thigh. You're catching some other regions of the anatomy. If you're going to take a shot to the groin from a respective sports item, I think basketball's the way to go.
And I can't decide which would be worse, a puck or an MMA fighter.
See, this is a tough question because when some of these guys are firing off wristers and slappers, they're getting the puck up to like $1.75. I'm going to say the hockey puck, honestly, because as hard as a dude might throw a punch, it's not going 175 miles an hour, and a hockey puck is A, more dense, and B, a smaller surface area. I'm going to say hockey puck is the last thing I want to take to the junk. A 170-plus mile an hour piece of... and by the way, I don't know if you know this, but before a hockey puck goes onto the ice to be played with, they freeze it. It goes in a deep freezer, right? So the hockey pucks over here that we have here in the studio, great one. If you go pick one of those up and flip it around, they're rock hard.
Yeah,
condensed rubber. They're rock hard. But
Believe
before
it or not, I have some hockey pucks at home.
Yeah.
So,
before they go on the ice, though, they put them into a deep freezer. So
that
they're even more.
I don't do that.
They're even more dense than that. Hockey puck is last on the list. I want to take a shot to the boys from. I'm going hockey puck, baseball, MMA fighter, football, basketball. From least desire a groin
I don't
shot.
know, a straight up punch or kick from Francis Ngannou or like a quick kick from Stephen Thompson. I don't know.
Not going 175 miles an hour, not made out of frozen solid rock.
I don't know. When Stephen Thompson kicks, it's pretty fast.
I agree. It ain't going slap shot fast. It's just not. It's just not capable. And that's not a shot. Obviously, that's just physics. I'm going to take slower speed, larger surface area if I'm taking a shot to the groin. I'm going hockey puck dead last on the list. Baseball second to last. Baseball ain't soft either. Basketball's top of the list. This is a weird segment that we're doing.
You're welcome.
I'm totally fine with it. It's a question I've never once in my life considered, and now it's like I just put a lot of thought into this.
May none of you listening ever have impact from any of those things.
Yeah, no. Priority number one is avoid all groin shots at all.
Now you're trying to think, okay, how many of those things have you been hit in the groin with before?
Scotty said, where does a golf ball off the tee box rank? Golf ball is probably going after hockey puck before baseball. A golf ball is coming off the head of a driver like a good golfer. Like a good golfer, like a pro golfer, is getting a club speed of 120-ish, 125-ish miles an hour.
What about a volleyball spike? Like, say, your guy going up above the net, trying to block the ball. And
no love for Misty May Trainer? Gary Walsh?
No, no. It's probably not going to hurt them the way it hurt a guy. Anyway, so a spike straight down while you're up in the air into the groin area.
Volleyball is going to go...
It's got to hurt. I've seen people cry after getting hit with volleyballs in the head and stuff. So,
as a longtime beach volleyball player, back when I was young and in shape, grew up on the beach, used to play beach volleyball all the time. I've taken,
no Speedos, right?
Don't judge me.
Okay,
I used to have abs.
Okay,
I'll tell you right now. I ever get back to having a six pack and a booty, I might do the show in a Speedo. If I look that good, I might do the show in a Speedo. I have taken a volleyball off the nose before. It sucks a lot. Volleyball is it's hard, but it's still got some give to it. It has to because of the hitting. I'm going to put the volleyball. Actually, I think I'm going to put the volleyball behind the basketball because the basketball is just not going to move at the same speed. Volleyball is going to be coming at you way faster. It's got a little more bounce to it, a little more spring to it. So I'm going to put volleyball behind basketball ahead of football because a football getting fired at you and the tip of that thing, I'm holding a football for those of you not watching on the live stream. I'm just sitting here assuming everybody is. Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate. The Fan Upstate on YouTube and X, The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. The point of a football is hard. And I'm assuming we're going top-notch professional at these sports are the ones that are firing this at you, right? We're going, this is Anthony Richardson, foul, giving you everything he's got with a heater. This is, Chris Sale, giving you everything he's got with a heater. I'm going basketball, volleyball.
I don't know. I just had a vision of a bird exploding and just thinking of that particular pitch hitting somewhere else.
Randy the Big Unit Johnson. Still obviously the greatest nickname in sports history. The man's name was Johnson, and they called him the Big Unit. I don't know how we were just all good with that. I mean, I do know how. It's hilarious. Yeah, that's exactly why. So RJ at 6'7".
By the way, I never got that till you just said that. So,
Till right now, today?
Till today. Yeah.
That Randy,
yeah,
the big unit,
dude,
Johnson.
I mean, sometimes other people's brains don't work the way yours
It's right.
does.
The big unit.
No, I get it now, dude. I get it. I don't know why I didn't get it before, but I just didn't.
Fair enough. All right. We got to run to a break so Lonzo can answer the call of whoever it is that's calling us to tell us that we should be fired and we need to stick to sports. When we come back here in just a minute from now, we actually do have a serious sports topic to get to coming up at noon today. The boards of trustees of both the Clemson Tiger Athletic Department, the Florida State University Athletic Department, and the board of directors of the Atlantic Coast Conference will all be on a phone call. Why? Because there is a potential settlement coming in the lawsuits between Florida State, Clemson, and the ACC, and they will see if they can reach agreement on terms of that settlement at noon today. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what that settlement looks like and more on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate.
Why are you just assuming it was going to be a complaint? Some people actually want to participate. Although, all this discussion, you might be doomed to hurting yourself while doing what you're doing. Seen that happen before. It's ugly.
I haven't done it myself. Give me 30 seconds, guys. I'll be right back. I'm not going anywhere. All right, we're back. Oh, on the ramp, but it didn't go all the way up. It's a rough way to start the day. Right line, wrong read. Or, excuse me, right read, wrong speed. Turn over. I just had one that got on the ramp, but it wasn't going fast enough to get up it. So I've yet to make a putt today. That hit the little lip.
Wow, performance issues.
And over 40. That's a line from the Avengers. There it is. Oh, I hit it again?
Wow, it's flipped on Facebook.
Like the little edge that separates the ramp up to the shooter backer. I've hit that twice.
Shooter backer.
I don't know, what do you call that thing? The plunger.
Shooter backer works for me.
See, I can do it.
Just turn on Facebook and because you turn it on actually. The first post: someone at your age is already dead.
I know a lot of people my age who are already dead.
But you're still alive. Yes, I am. Not even angry.
Stupid optimist. Let me be mad.
I was quoting a song. Song called "Still Alive."
I'm still standing.
It's not that song.
Yeah. Don't push that. God, man. I'm like 1 for 7. 1 for 8. Golly. I'll go ahead and take a break. Some days they're just not going your way.
Guy is still hanging on. If that's really your name, Guy.
Guy.
I don't know.
Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening me. Galileo. Galileo Figaro, Magnifico.
3 years ago today, The Batman released in theaters. Have you watched it yet?
The Batman. The Pattinson one?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters with you.
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
Nuh-uh.
Yes, I did, pal.
Did you really?
Yes.
Pal?
Buddy.
Well, you've seen like 3 movies since.
That's not what you asked. Going to get to that ACC/Clemson/Florida State story here in a moment, but you guys always go first on the show. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE is the number. Guy has called in, and Lonzo put on our little call software that the subject is balls, because we're talking, obviously, about footballs and basketballs and definitely nothing else. Guy, welcome to the show, big fella.
Morning. Yeah, 2 that happen the most probably, tennis and soccer. Then lacrosse is one that compares to hockey. And then you've got pickleball, which I have no clue. But the number one that I would allow, table tennis.
I mean, if I'm getting the option, table tennis is absolutely the correct take. Absolutely the correct take. Pickleball, I had my first, this is true, guy. I had my first, up close look at pickleball on Saturday. There is an entire pickleball venue that got built out by Liberty Park, kind of over on the other side of downtown. And I went and watched it. Here's what I'm going to say. I actually kind of want to play now, after having seen it in person. However, some of the people out there playing pickleball, buddy, they are not there for a good time. They are there to kick ass and go home.
Yeah, but you see that in volleyball. I mean, that's happened to just about any sport. You get a table tennis on that.
I don't disagree. But
It's
I
called
think
winning, Rob. People like doing that.
No. Again, me too, right? Me too. But it is the intensity, and again, I want to play. The wife and I are already planning going out there, hopefully this weekend, to go out there and try it out. The intensity with which people in their 60s and 70s are out there, and they are trying to beat each other's ass.
When you get old, you lose your competitive spirit. That's ageism again. Come on, dude.
Guy, you know what I'm saying here, right? If I'm going out there and there's Myrtle and Ethel are out there playing a little pickleball, I expect them to be doing it recreational, just to have it a little activity, a little exercise. They are trying to crush each other's souls at pickleball.
That's fine. I'd love to see a throwdown. You throw down the paddles and go at it. That'd be fun to watch.
Guy, appreciate the call, man. I can't wait for
Myrtle
the pickleball
and
elimination
Ethel,
chamber.
Yeah, I'd watch that. Also, I thought of another one that would probably go higher on the list. Paintball.
I have not taken a paintball to the junk. I've played paintball. It does not feel great. That's a good pick. All right, let's get to this Florida State Clemson story, because it is, I think, without a doubt, the biggest story of the day. Long story short, there are going to be 3 phone calls that are going to be taking place today, all of them at noon. One of those phone calls will be taking place amongst the directors of the Atlantic Coast Conference. One of those phone calls will be taking place amongst the board of directors of the Florida State University Athletic Department. And the final phone call will be taking place between the board of directors of the Clemson Athletic Department. All 3 of those phone calls will be about the same thing: attempting to reach a settlement in the 4 different lawsuits that are ongoing betwixt the schools and the conference. Effectively, from my understanding, there is a rough outline of a set of settlement terms that have been loosely agreed to by all entities involved, the 3 entities involved. The 3 conversations today, the ACC's, FSU's, and Clemson's, will be amongst the 3 entities as separate entities to determine if they believe that the loose proposal for settlements that is on the table is acceptable. We don't know the exact terms of the settlement yet, but what we do know is what the subjects of the settlement are. Number one, establishing a new revenue distribution model based on viewership. And number two, a change in the financial penalties for exiting the league's grant of rights agreement before its conclusion in June 2036. Effectively, what we're discussing here in this conversation is that Florida State and Clemson brought lawsuits to the table that said we should get more money out of the ACC's conference pot. And we should get more money out of the pot because we put more money in it. People are watching more FSU and Clemson football than they are Duke and Wake Forest football. And before anybody flips out and they go, wait a minute, wait a minute, Rob. It's basketball season. Duke is right now no worse than the second most talked about, discussed, and probably watched college basketball team in America. And you are correct about that. However, 76% of the money that is generated and distributed by the ACC back to the schools, 76% of that money comes from football. So 3/4 of the money is football driven. So of course, the two schools, although I think it is three, I think Miami's involved here. They just did not want to get into the weeds, which is understandable, right? Like, why create a divide between you and the conference that you're not sure you can get out of when you could just let Clemson and Florida State do their thing, right? Just let Clemson and Florida State go through all of the legal turmoil. And if they get out, great. You've got a road mark. You've got a map on how to exit the ACC. And if they lose the litigation they propose and they end up incurring some sort of penalty and or wrath of the conference, great. You get to avoid that. I think Miami wanted in. Honestly, I think North Carolina probably did too. Let somebody else do it, right? I'm a big Lonzo and I both big video game guys. You know, when I play a shooting game on the internet, on the video games, there's always a guy on my team like Lonzo who likes to Leroy Jenkins and kick down the door and go running in guns blazing. And I like to stand back, way back here, find out where the bad guys are, and then go get them strategically.
Screw your tactics, man.
Exactly. You're Florida State and Clemson. I'm Miami. I'm going to let you go in. You take all the damage. You take all the bullets. And then I'll come in and clean up the mess. That's what Miami's doing right now. So Florida State and Clemson are the ones that have the 4 active lawsuits. They are ones discussing the settlement. I would quite literally pay money right now to find out what the specific terms of the settlement are. I would like to know, because the two topics, the settlement has 2 key topics. We mentioned them a second ago. Number 1, establish a new revenue distribution model based on viewership. Number 2, establish a new set of financial penalties for schools that leave the grant of rights agreement before its conclusion in June of 2036. Let's start with these 2 things and what specifically we're talking about here. As far as the first one goes, mentioned a minute ago, over 3/4 of the revenue distributed to schools comes from football. Florida State and Clemson, yes, even with a 2-10 record last year, Florida State and Clemson generate a disproportionate amount of that money. Florida State and Clemson have been saying to the conference for a couple of years now, whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
We are the ones that have been going to playoff games. We are the ones that have been going 13-0 and then 2-10. We are the ones that have been doing stuff and getting the ACC into the national spotlight via television. Therefore, we should be rewarded with more of the money that is distributed. And the ACC has, for years, said, no, we want everybody on a level playing field. This looks like it may change. Do I think that Florida State and Clemson want out of the ACC if they believe that, A, they would be invited to the Big Ten or the Southeastern Conference, and B, if there is more money available to them? Now, those two things go hand in hand. The SEC and the Big Ten are obviously handing more dollar bills, y'all, to the teams in those conferences than the ACC is to the schools in its conference. But Florida State and Clemson feel like they can make up a little bit of the ground by getting a larger share of the ACC pot. Number two, we don't actually know if the Big Ten and the SEC would invite either one of those schools. I think Florida State would have had a better shot last year when they were 13-0, when they were Power 5 conference champions and they were a playoff team. Oh, wait. I think they had a better shot last year before they turned around and took it to a 2-10 run this year. I think when Clemson, who was a playoff team last year, just so we're clear, I think when Clemson was an annual national championship threat, they had a better chance of getting invited. I still think they would be invited, as I do think Florida State would too. But I don't think it feels like a guarantee like it did in years gone by. And so part of the settlement for me for these two schools is likely, let's not blow up the ACC without knowing we have a landing spot. Because remember, both the SEC and the Big Ten have said we're not going to discuss invitations with anybody until we know that those entities are free and clear of their prior establishment. And as my old man used to tell me all the time, don't quit a job until you know you have another job lined up. Because the worst thing in the world is to quit your job, and then you get out there and you go, uh-oh, nobody's going to hire me, and now I can't pay my rent. And I think there is some element of that here, right? If you're Florida State, if you're Clemson, unless you know the SEC or the Big Ten are going to call you, probably not a great idea to blow up the conference you're in, hence the settlement. And hence the second strategy in this settlement being to establish a new set of penalties for exiting the grant of rights. This, to me, was malpractice on behalf of the ACC. Their negotiations for and they're signing a G of R that lasts through 2036, to me, was financially irresponsible. We've had this conversation in depth and detail in months and years gone by. On one hand, I kind of do understand it. You have established paychecks until 2036, right? You're not going anywhere. You are, and this is why I've said, the one reason that once we get to the three-conference super setup we're going to, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the EEC, the everybody else conference, I believe the Big 12 is likely more comfortable in its role, especially after what happened last year. But the reason the ACC is still a threat for that is because their grant of rights is set up for another 11 years. They're guaranteed paychecks. And at the end of the day, all that matters is guaranteed dollars. And the ACC has it. However, it's 11 years where the financial payoff is a big fat question mark, right? They're not going to get a bunch of raises. Those schools aren't going to be watching their annual revenue tick up and 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 up like the SEC is, like the Big Ten is. They're locked in. They got a little bit of a raise every year, but they're locked in with where they are. So they can't, they're guaranteed security, but every year they're going to see their paycheck go up just a tick while they're watching their rivals go up by tens of millions of dollars. And while you don't have to like it, you do have to understand its reality. It's a business, my dudes. You want the best players? You want to be able to pay the best players? You want to have the best facilities to attract the best players? You better have money in hand. And so when they're watching all these other schools and all these other conferences watch their paychecks tick, 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 up, and they know that they're only getting a little bit of a time, there is going to come a tipping point where the cost to exit the grant of rights agreement that they all signed becomes less than the losses they would sustain by staying in it. Now, that's probably not in the next 3 or 4 years, but 6 or 7 years down the line. When we get to 2029, 2030, 2031, which is, I believe, next month, there will come a point where they're going to go, okay, if we leave the grant of rights, we're going to get penalized X millions of dollars, but we got a bunch of nerds in green visors and calculators in the back who are saying by staying in it, we are going to lose a value of X amount of billions of dollars. And there will be a tipping point where the payout from the grant of rights becomes less than the money lost by staying in it. Clemson and Florida State are trying to balance those two numbers. They're trying to lower that exit penalty so that it will more rapidly reach the level where staying in the GOR is detrimental to the school. Effectively, it is trying to create a place where they can either have the ACC go negotiate for better payout on the grant of rights, or they can force everybody out of the GOR and they can move on. Just one of those two things. I don't know which one is more likely to happen. I don't frankly think anybody does right now. I do know that these phone calls at noon today are going to be very interesting. And hopefully we'll get some reports on what gets said today later on. All three parties must agree to the settlement. So if Clemson looks at these and they go, we don't like that, Florida State looks and goes, we don't like that, or if the ACC goes, yeah, no, we want those GOR penalties to stay in place. We want them to be fined this much to lead the GOR because we feel like we have done a good job establishing security for this conference. And if we allow the two crown jewels of it to ask out and get out, and we don't penalize them that much, we're giving ourselves the death penalty here. We're offing ourselves. And we don't want to do that. So these phone calls are massively important to the two schools, yes, but also massively important to the conference and its existence as well. All right, we'll run to a break. We got your water cooler cheat sheet coming up in the next segment. Top 3 sports stories that you need to know here on a Tuesday morning. But the heavyweight champion of Sports Flashes goes now. It's Lonzo.
I'm trying to lose weight, man. It's just kind of mean. I would be a heavyweight though. I'd be abusive to other boxers. The Atlanta Braves will be without starting catcher Sean Murphy for 4 to 6 weeks, which will cause him to miss the beginnings of the season. Murphy sustained a cracked rib, according to reports, when he was hit by a pitch during a spring game last Friday. Murphy is expected to be replaced in the opening day lineup by Drake Baldwin. The road to the playoffs may be a bit tougher for the Dallas Mavericks as star forward Kyrie Irving limped off the court with help during a 122-98 loss to the Sacramento Kings last night. Irving was fouled by DeMar DeRozan on the way to the basket, fell awkwardly on his left leg, and struggled to stand. They had to help him to shoot free throws. Tune in Saturday at 8 p.m. as Furman Paladins take on the Sanford Bulldogs in the first round of the SoCon basketball tournament. It's Furman versus Sanford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. Fan, Upstate.
All right, 3 things. I'm only talking about one of them. First up is The Rock. This throat slit thing, I feel like if he was pushing it any harder, he could have cut his own head off with his own finger. But I'm not talking about it. 2, Travis Scott. I don't know why you were there, but I'm glad that you were. Because whatever you did to Cody, it sounded like you ruptured his eardrums, and I'm here living for that. So, snaps, kudos, claps, whatever you need to feel good. Great job. We're here to talk about common denominators. Try to follow me. Try to keep up. But I know most of y'all are slow. So Brock beat his ass all across the country. Then The Rock caught him in the rain, whooped him with the strap. Kevin caught him in the parking lot, beat him with the knuckles. At Elimination Chamber, John Cena beat him in the middle of the ring. Beat him down. The common denominator in in all of these ass whoopings has been Cody Rhodes. And that's because he's earned them. He's done nothing his entire life but exude negative energy. How do I know? I've known since I was 14 years old. Let me take you back. Wrestling season. Every year, Saturday afternoon, me walking the podium to get my gold medal. And what do I see on the ground? I see Cody and all his little henchmen making fun of me, doing everything that they could to make my high school life a living hell. So he's earned all of these beatdowns through hard work. And you say, but I don't see that side of Cody. I just don't see it. That's because he's a master manipulator. He wants you to see this golden boy that he's put in front of you. He wants you to see the blonde-haired, blue-eyed savior. He wants you to see him as the guy who ended Roman Reigns' tyrannical championship reign. But matter of fact, Roman, the guy who y'all cheer for now, without forcing him to atone for his sins against the roster for, 4 years? But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about John Cena beating Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania for the Universal Championship. The thing that sucks about that is Cena's probably got 2 or 3 more movies lined up this year, so that title will probably go the way that he does, and we won't see it anymore. Sucks for the SmackDown brand, but I'm on Raw, baby. So what we're waiting for is Gunther versus Jey Uso for the heavyweight championship. And if I was a betting man, which I am, I'd put all my money on Gunther. But as we know, anything can happen. It's not a non-zero chance for Jey, but I will say that if Jey does win, then every single person that has ever beaten Jey Uso is going to be knocking on that door. And that will make 2025 a very, very interesting year. So until then, let's harp on what we have here in front of us. And everybody raise your hands to the sky and say, thank God for the new day.
He's making fun, saying Cody got what he deserved because he made fun of him when they were in high school. Yeah, the sun's deceptive, Jacob. Times it'll get you.
Here we go. And hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Rob Brown Show. It's the fan upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you be a part of the show. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. If you want to be a part of it, that is the line to call the show and get on the air. That is the number to text the show and get it read on the air. If you want in, you want your voice heard, that's how you do it. 844-326-3663 is the number. And if you give me a great call, if you give me a great text, the Selly Horn is back, baby. Feels good. Feels good to have my stuff back, you know?
I don't know. That's a little limp. That
This was on me. My bad.
you get some more showy fanfare than that. I mean, come on.
I'm going to drink a lot of beer tonight, Jim. Budweiser.
Shout out Budweiser. Shout out Bud Heavy. Shout out Bud Diesel. The go-to. The go-to.
Diesel?
Bud Diesel. That's what we call Bud Heavy. Not Bud Light. Buddy. Also, I figured it out, by the way. I figured out where Buddy comes from. It's Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. It's his fault. I realized that yesterday. He and I were having a conversation yesterday about setting up our segment for tomorrow, which we do every Wednesday on the show at 8:40 when we talk Swamp Rabbits hockey. And we were having a conversation. It was me, him, and another guy on the media relations team. All right, we're doing a coach, we did a player, doing stream, whatever. And we were like 4 minutes into the conversation, and I realized that he had called me buddy like 3 times. And I was like, oh, it's your fault. I got it now. I got it, buddy. He's like, let me tell you. I said, hey, are we good for the stream? And he goes, I'll probably have to let you know Wednesday, buddy. And I was like, buddy? Hey, buddy? All right. 7:02 in the AM portion of the day, ladies and gentlemen. We have 57 minutes. Well, Lonzo and I have been at work for like 4 hours now. But you have like 57 minutes until you, like us, have to be at work, have to start talking sports. And if you're going to do that, you got to know what's going on. And if you need to know what's going on, don't you worry. Lonzo and I have you covered because we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
Are you guys sniffing on newsprint or something?
before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Slave.
Turns out, still funny.
Slave.
You go break me every time with that. I don't know why.
Because it's pretty good. Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office this AM and start talking sports with your coworkers or, your dog or whoever you work with today. When you do, this is what you're going to need to know. Item number 1. We talked about this in the last hour. We will likely talk about it again later on in the show. Florida State and Clemson have phone calls scheduled today for noon amongst their athletic departments. Those phone calls being handled separate from each other. Florida State will talk with Florida State. Clemson will talk with Florida. I have no misconceptions that there aren't people acting as the middleman betwixt the two. Hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Cheating off each other's homework. But for these phone calls, they will be intra-office phone calls to determine whether or not they would like to accept a set of settlement proposals, tentative settlement proposals, offered by the Atlantic Coast Conference to get rid of the 4 lawsuits that are circulating between these 2 schools and the Atlantic Coast Conference. The ACC Board of Directors is scheduled to hold a phone call today as well, in which they will go over the proposed settlement terms. Florida State and Clemson both have called board meetings to present their terms at noon today. All 3 boards must agree to the settlement for it to move forward. We'll see. Sources throughout the league do expect a deal to be reached that, according to Andrea Adelson, David Hale, and Pete Thamel, all covering this from different angles. According to the sources, the settlements have 2 major objectives. Number 1 is to establish a new revenue distribution model based on viewership. 76+% of the money that the ACC distributes to its member institutions comes from football. The argument from Florida State and Clemson this whole time has been, we are the reason that people watch ACC football. Not Wake Forest. Not Louisville. 76%. We put up the most money. Ergo, we should get more money. We should be the numero uno money getters in the conference. The conference obviously has tried to avoid that becoming a reality for some time. Now it looks like it very well might. We'll find out. The other objective that these phone calls in this settlement seeks to address is for an update to the financial penalties for schools that would exit the ACC's grant of rights agreement before it expires in 2036, which is 6 weeks from now. The new model would allow schools, assuming the settlement goes the way. Now, it is very possible, just so we're clear, I don't know what the terms are. I don't know of anybody who knows what the terms are. It is possible that perhaps the ACC could talk to Clemson and Florida State into accepting the same or higher GOR exit penalties in return for getting the revenue distribution model that they prefer, that is based on viewership, that is based on ratings. Hey, we're going to give you more per year. You're going to get a bigger share per year than everybody else in the conference. But in return, you shut up at your faces about the grant of rights exit fees. You're going to get more money than everybody, but you're going to stop talking about leaving the grant of rights agreement, or at least stop asking for lower penalties. I don't know what those terms are going to look like. I'm intrigued by what these phone calls sound like. I don't know that we're going to know what these phone calls sound like. But the phone call's happening today at noon between Clemson and Florida State. The phone call happening within the Atlantic Coast Conference today. All three phone calls are likely to have, assuming a settlement is reached, assuming a deal is struck between the two institutions and the conference itself, could have long-standing impacts on the ACC and its existence as a conference. So we'll keep you up to date on that story the best we can as it continues to develop. Let's get to item number 2. We have been waiting and anticipating the quarterback carousel to pick up, to start moving. Now we have the next decision. The Minnesota Vikings will apparently not franchise tag Sam Darnold. They will allow Sam to look around the league. They, however, apparently will also negotiate with Sam Darnold. Here's what Adam Schefter had to say about it.
So we did Rodgers, we did Stafford. What about Sam Darnold?
I think when I see Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, their GM of the Vikings, talk the way he did in such glowing terms about J.J. McCarthy, to me that says, like, okay, they're setting it up for J.J. to be the guy.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. I think that they would like Sam back, but they'd like Sam back at their number. And so, again, where's Matthew Stafford going? Is he going to the Rams? Is he going to the Raiders? Is he going to the Giants? Because I think if he doesn't wind up with the Raiders, I think Sam Darnold potentially could come into play with the Raiders. I could see that happening. Sam Darnold, I think he'll do well. But to me, it feels like Minnesota is shaping up to be J.J. McCarthy, and we'll see what happens here in the next couple of weeks.
So obviously that clip is a little bit older because this was Shefty from, I think, Friday of last week, talking about still having to wait where Matt Stafford's going to go. Now we know where Matt Stafford's going to go. He's not going anywhere. He's going to stay put in Los Angeles, California, IA. Fine. Sam Darnold's the next big name. There's other names out there. Aaron Rodgers is still out there. One guy that we haven't even discussed yet, Lonzo, actually technically two guys we haven't discussed yet, are Russ Wilson and Justin Fields.
Yeah, your boy.
Our boys.
Yeah, I know.
Our guys.
Yeah.
Russ Wilson and Justin Fields. Either one of them could ultimately be put off by the Steelers. Oh, and by the way, another report started circulating around yesterday that the Steelers are on the look for a new QB1 outside of the franchise. We had reports that circulated early last week that they were on the horn with the Jacksonville Jaguars looking at Trevor Lawrence, getting him out of Jacksonville, Florida. Do it, Trevor. We have a new rumor that started circulating yesterday, great one, that the Pittsburgh Steelers may have reached out to the New Orleans Saints about the availability of Derek Carr.
See, that sounds far-fetched. I also saw something where the locker room was divided between, and was this season, and you kind of saw it, between the two quarterbacks.
Sure.
And that they're leaning more towards Justin Fields, but maybe in this case to not give one side or the other the win, you get rid of both of them and bring somebody else in. I mean, maybe that solidifies the locker room, brings them back in. So there's not one side going, see, we got our guy, but everybody gets a new guy.
You know, maybe I'm just old-fashioned. There comes a point, and we talked about this on the Saturday show, me and Cody Decker. I am pro-player empowerment, okay? It's my bleeding liberal heart. I'm pro-player empowerment. Know. I am in debates and discussions in the world of sports 98.734226% of the time.
That's oddly specific.
Hey, man, I keep track. I am going to side on the players. However, it's not consensus. It's not every time. And in this case, there comes a time where I, as a head coach, offensive coordinator, general manager, would walk into a locker room and go, hey, I know half of you guys wanted Justin and half of you guys wanted Russell. You know what I want? For all of you to shut up. We're going to go with the quarterback that we think gives us the best chance to win, and you're all going to go out there and play hard to help us do that. Cool? If you don't want to do that, that's fine. We got trade partners. We can dance, all right? But if you want to be here, you're going to ride or die with whoever we pick as QB1. It's not up to you. That's like one spot where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be pro coach, pro GM, not pro player. Blah, 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 blah. I don't think Alonzo's wrong on this either. I think there may be some element of, well, half the base, half the locker room wants Justin Fields, half the base, half the locker room wants Russell Wilson. So let's go with neither of them.
So let's
go
with
get Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. Okay.
The Saints would, I think, as much as they have been, oh, no, Derek Carr's our guy. Part of the reason why is because if they cut Derek Carr, they would have like $60 million worth of dead cap, and they're already screwed. If Derek Carr leaves New Orleans via trade, however, that could take north of $30 million off the cap. And Spencer Rattler's already in the building. You can draft another quarterback midway through that draft this year. Yeah, you'd have a very young quarterback room, but let's be honest, we're going to suck anyway. So what does it matter? We suck. Who cares? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. All right. Let's get to, we'll talk more about that coming up here in just a couple of minutes from now, because Sam Darnold not going on the tag, but Shefty saying that the Vikings are likely still going to want to keep him on board tells me that they want to do Kirk Cousins in Atlanta just with Sam Darnold staying in Minnesota. Yeah, it's your job. You played well enough last year to keep it, but you really are just holding that spot until we feel like J.J. McCarthy's ready. We'll find out. We'll talk more about it later on. Let's get to item number 3. Got a couple of basketball stories here to give you. We're going to wrap 3 of them up into item number 3. We'll start with this one. The Dallas Mavericks did believe, hilariously, that after trading Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers, that they could still be a playoff team. And maybe they could have, but now they cannot be because Kyrie Irving has suffered a left knee sprain, left the Mavs game last night, a 122-98 loss to the Kings. In obvious pain late in the first quarter. Irving was fouled by DeMar DeRozan on a drive to the basket. His right foot landed on top of Jonas Valanciunas of the Kings' foot. He lost his balance, landed awkwardly on his left leg. His knee appeared to hyperextend backwards before he fell to the floor. He had to get help to the free throw line, where he then did knock down 2 free throws on a bum wheel. And then Anthony Davis and a couple of other fellas had to help him off the floor and back to the locker room. The Mavericks did not provide any postgame update on the nature of Kyrie's injury. Jason Kidd called it unlucky. After the or during the postgame press conference, Irving stayed on the floor for multiple minutes before being helped to the line and then back to the locker room. We will see what happens with Kyrie Irving. Over in the Oklahoma City's 137-128 win over the Houston Rockets, SGA is him. 50-point mark for the 4th time this season, all in the past 7 weeks. No other player in the NBA has more than one 50-point game. SGA knocked down his 4th last night. He is the NBA's scoring leader with at least 40 points for the 9th time in 2024-25. He made 18 of 30 field goals, 5 of 9 from range, knocked down all 10 free throws. SGA reached 50 points on a putback with just under 3 minutes left to give the Thunder a 132-120 advantage. Had never scored 50 in a game before this stretch. The shortest span for a player to record 4 career 50-point games in NBA history, according to ESPN research. SGA said, quote, "It becomes, you can say it's not as exciting as the first one, but it's more like getting lost in the process of just competing and playing the game you love. And then wherever that takes you it takes you. It was also SGA's 17th career game with 20 points in the paint and 10 made free throws, the most by any guard since 1998, and a mark that surpassed LeBron James for the 7th most by any player over that span. SGA went on to say, whether it's 50, 27, or 17, as long as we win, I have fun with it. It was a fun night. You know, we had this conversation about the face of the league yesterday. Lonzo, can I submit SGA as the face of the NBA? Dude is leading the NBA in points scored and is the only guy that I have seen make it a point of grabbing the mic and saying, I love basketball.
If he walked into a random Walmart, would people know who he is?
That's a fair question that I don't know the answer of, but is that, and this is not like pushing back, this is a sincere question. Is that what makes you face of the league? Like, is crossover appeal to non-basketball fans? Because that, I don't know if that makes you, I mean, that makes you obviously a celebrity, but I don't know if it makes you, does that make you face of the league? Like, is it LeBron's Space Jam that made him the face of the league, or is it the fact that he dominated the league for 4 years?
So when we talk about face of the league, I mean, really it comes down to is I think it's when you think of NBA, you think of that guy. And that's not just just about how good they are on the court, but it's how visible they are everywhere else. And it's the most marketable person. It's a lot of things. And I'm not sure that anybody else is on that level right now.
You know, I want to push back on that. But as I sat here preparing to push back on that, you know what name popped into my head? Nikola Jokic. Jokic is a dude who does not want any of that. He wants to go get a triple-double and then go back and see his horses, right? Nikola Jokic should be the face of the league. Should be. He's the best player in it. But he actively avoids putting his face anywhere. SGA doesn't really lean into the celebrity aspect of it, but dude's out here dropping consistent 50 burgers this year. He's got 4 of them. Nobody else has more than 1. I don't know. I'd like to submit SGA as face of the NBA because he also enjoys basketball. At least it feels like it to me. All right, let's take a break. Got a lot more we need to get to. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is the Fan Upstate. So I've made a grave mistake today, people. I wore my hiking boots to stand in. Hilariously.
Oh, look, there he is. I see him. I see him.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, all right.
I look like a.
You sold your confusion. Wow.
I look like a Kyler Murray post-game press conference right now.
Couldn't go Bryce Young, could you?
Well, yeah, I shouldn't have gone Kyler Murray because he is 6'3".
That's right.
During those 17 years, I don't think anything's ever made me go, really, dude? More than that guy telling us he was 6'3".
Well, the thing is, we could have went hard on that. But we had to question it a little bit. You and I could have. That guy would have kicked us off his podcast if we would have. Or was he on ours?
I think he was on ours at that point.
It would have went ugly if we wanted it to.
For sure. Baby, why don't you come over? Red wine supernova, fall right into me. That song's not nasty. That song's about.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Fall right into me?
Okay, I don't think that has to. I mean, you can metaphorically fall into someone. What's the, there's an alternative song that uses the exact same lyric.
Almost every song on the radio, especially now, is talking about sex.
I don't think that's true. I think a lot of them are. But that's also, again, much like us with food takes, like that's a relatively universal experience.
Pick out the top 5 songs on any chart and look at the lyrics.
Okay, bet. I'm about to.
And don't go to Christian charts, because that's the way to count it.
I wouldn't. Billboard Top 100. We want like the pop charts?
Don't matter.
Okay. Billboard Top 100. 1, Luther with Kendrick Lamar and SZA. I don't know it. Number 2, Die With a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. Number 3, Not Like Us. Taking a tank. Down to number 3. Kendrick's got 3 of the top 5. TV Off by Kendrick Lamar. A Bar Song by Shabuzi. That's not about sex. Apartment, Rose and Bruno Mars. Don't know it. Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish. Oh, I'm getting old. Pink Pony Club by Chaperone is all the way up to number 8. That's not about sex. Lose Control by Teddy Swims. I guess it is.
You saying it's not about it doesn't mean it's not.
Pink Pony Club is definitely not about it. That's about dancing in a gay club in San Francisco. Finding the freedom to be yourself in a world that tells you not to. I'm gonna keep on dancing in the Pink Pony Club. Sports Car by Tate McRae. I don't even know who Tate McRae is. True. I had some help by Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. I do kind of like that song. Can't stand Morgan Wallen. Do kind of like that jam. Espresso down to 18. I got reasons. This is a sports show. Let's stick to sports.
How are we going to simulate it? They playing video again?
That was also my first thought. I highly recommend looking up Tate McRae. I will do it after the show, JD. Put her on the old Spotify list. The Rob Brown Show.
Who's your daddy?
Continues right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob.
The vibes are unmatched.
Lonzo.
Slay.
And you. Let's get to some stuff. I am selfishly going to make a segment about me. Or, I guess, more accurately, about something I want to talk about.
Okay, so you've never done that before in the history of this radio show or any of the other ones that you've done. So
I do it almost every day. It's just that
this is historic.
There are segments that I want to talk about that I also know that many of you will want to talk about. And then there's segments that I want to talk about that I know that many of you don't give a, Rudy Poo candy backside about. I don't know if this is one of those or not. What I do know.
I wish you quit quoting that guy who perpetuated the biggest betrayal in the history of mankind.
Professional wrestling is cool.
I know, as when we get off the air today, I'm going home to let the old pupper out, and then I'm headed on down to Floor Field to watch a little college baseball in the fake spring sun. I love baseball. And I know, yes, I know, that we are in a college baseball, a professional baseball, a baseball community. There's a conversation that's been going on for a very long time about the, I'm going to air quote this so hard I sprain a finger, falling off of baseball across America. There's a lot of air quotes there.
Which has had a greater falling, that or NBA?
If we're talking about the numbers, the NBA. Because baseball's World Series last year was the most watched World Series in like a decade and a half. Baseball's not falling off. What baseball is doing is spreading their products so thinly across so many different outlets that it's hard to follow more than like a team, right? Like if I would have watched, somebody did the research on this, I don't know, a week or two ago. If I wanted to guarantee that I could watch every Atlanta Braves game this year, right? If I was going to sit down and watch every single Braves game this year, I would have to be subscribed, great one, to 6 streaming services. 6 to watch every Braves. 6. I got to have 6 to watch every Braves game.
That's what? That's like $120 or something?
I mean,
somewhere around there?
I'm sure it's more than that because you've got to have the ESPN Plus, you got to have the Apple TV, you got to have the Amazon Prime, as they'll have a few games on that. You got to have the whatever network Bailey's turned into. You got to have like 6 different streaming services to watch every Braves game. And for years and years, guys like me have said, you know who I blame for this? I blame ESPN. Now, it's not like a recent decision. If you missed it last week, we talked very briefly about it. ESPN elected last week that they are going to not renew their contract with Major League Baseball, which means baseball has to find a new home for like a lot of its games. And that's a little bit problematic. Now, I think they're going to end up doing a lot of it on Amazon Prime and Apple. I think those 2 outlets are going to pick up a lot of baseball. I think that's part of the reason that they've been doing these Saturday night games and whatnot on these streaming services the last couple of years, is kind of have that platform in place and ready to just roll over, transition over. We'll find out. John Skipper was the chief of ESPN for like a real long time. And he was on Pablo Torres' podcast yesterday. And they talked a little bit about ESPN's relationship with baseball back when he was in charge. And I have thoughts.
When I was there, I got more complaining from baseball than anybody else. I frequently asked what percentage of the highlights on SportsCenter are baseball, and the answer was never the answer I would have expected given the tone of it's minimal coverage. We're never on. Take a random SportsCenter from baseball season, and it is full of baseball highlights. And there was never any direction from me to do less baseball. If anything, I called several times and fussed that we had the top 10 highlights and all 10 of them were baseball. It's inaccurate. Mike and Mike talked about baseball all the time. Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon talked about baseball. Stephen A. Smith doesn't talk baseball. I never understood it.
But John, I can't let you get away with what you just said because it's not right. When you talk about all of the baseball that was talked by Mike and the top 10s were full of baseball, when you take an opening day of a season and you want to move it to the deuce, and you're unwilling to do anything with ABC, and you're unwilling to do any sort of outside of prime window, or you just want the 1 o'clock window for regular ESPN, but then at night you're going to show some sort of college game or other sport that you seem to love more than baseball, we would keep track of that. We would have memos internally. I don't want to sound like a scorned lover because you do what you want. It's your network, but then don't question why we're feeling as though we're not getting treated right.
You seem to be suggesting that any of those decisions was a decision made because we didn't like baseball. My guess would be if we wanted to put a baseball game on ESPN2, it's because we had something that would rate higher if we put it on ESPN1. The decisions weren't about what we liked or didn't like. We also had contractual obligations we had to juggle at all times.
All right. So I got a couple things. Number one, at the beginning of that, he said, Mike and Mike used to talk baseball, and Tony Kornheiser talks baseball. And then he immediately hits the point that we've made. Stephen A. Smith doesn't talk baseball. First Take doesn't talk baseball. What's the other studio show they do mid-mornings? They don't talk baseball, right?
What, Get Up?
Yes, that's the morning show. Greeny every now and then hits baseball, but like many hosts, and I don't blame Greenberg for this, he talks about the Yankees and he talks about the Mets, which fine, it's a show based in New York, but like they don't talk baseball. So Skip can say what he wants. And I do, as I regularly do, put a lot of this on us. Because at the end of the day, one of the only things out of that entire take from John Skipper that I agree with was when he said if we put a Premier Baseball game on ESPN2, it's because we had something higher in the ratings that we would put on ESPN1, right? Which, yeah, I'm sure at times that's true, right? But what is it in June? What is it in June that prevents you from carrying more baseball? All of that being said, forget the games. And I feel this way about baseball, and I feel this way about hockey. I feel this way about golf. All the sports that we have talked about having a fall off. And it even kind of reflects on the conversation we had yesterday about baseball and about LeBron's, nobody wants to be the face of the league comments. Why doesn't anybody want to be the face of the league, according to LeBron? Because everybody who talks baseball consistently on the players, on the product, on the game. And why would you want to be the guy tasked with carrying the banner of a thing that people are constantly on, even people who are inside of the game? Well, the reality of the situation is that when people are doing that to the game, poo-pooing the game, or worse, when they're just ignoring it outright, the attention span of Americans is more often than not focused solely on whatever's happening right in front of us at this immediate moment. That is the reason that social media has become the most important thing in the world. Because I, at any given moment, no matter what's happening in the world around me, can pop open this phone right now and jump on TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or whatever, and I can distract myself. I can have my attention span on something else, immediate gratification. So when I listen to this and I hear him going, well, Tony Kornheiser used to talk about it. Okay, so you have baseball conversation happening on PTI at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday when people are working? Why is it not on in the drive time in the afternoon, drive time in the morning, etc.? It's partially on us, but yeah, when the big time networks are skipping over something, ignoring a sport at large, of course the ratings come down, bud. Of course there's stuff that people are going to watch. Because if you spend all day talking about something else, and then at 5, 6, 7 at night, you go, all right, and now you have a choice to watch the thing we just talked about all day or the thing that we didn't talk about at all. Which would you like? I'm going to take the thing you talked about all day. I hold a lot of this over John Skipper. I didn't like this interview at all. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I might get a haircut next week.
A hair trim.
Hey, listen. If 5 or 6 inches is cut off of someone's head, it's a haircut. Sorry, it's not as short as other people's, but it's still a haircut. I mean, when does a trim become a cut? How much is it a matter of how much you get cut off?
I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like
A trim, you go in, you probably get a ½ inch cut off, and you get a little bit of razor work done. I mean, or a little bit of
like if I
clippers.
get a trim, I'm basically considering it clean up around my ears, right? Like make me don't look shaggy. Keep it long, but don't make me look shaggy.
I will contend that I get more of a haircut than any of you. Because when I go in to get my haircut, it's work for the barber.
Yeah, but I would also say, isn't it kind of based on percentage of hair removed?
Right.
Like you remove way less of a
Oh,
percentage.
they're tired after they work with me.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663 is the number if you want to be a part of the program. We talked about this in the last hour. I'm going to bring it back up here for those of you that maybe missed it or just tuning in on your drive to work or whatever, because I do think, without a doubt, it is the most impactful story of the day for a solid chunk, if not most of you. Clemson and Florida State's athletic departments today will have 12 o'clock meetings, both of them. In those meetings, they are going to discuss terms of settlements of the 4 combined lawsuits that they have brought. Each of them has brought a lawsuit in their home state. Each of them has brought a lawsuit in Charlotte, North Carolina, the home state of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Each of those has brought lawsuits pertaining to 2 major topics. Topic number 1, revenue distribution amongst the conference institutions. Topic number 2, the financial penalties for exiting the league's grant of rights agreements. Today, the ACC will be having a phone call as well. We are waiting to find out what these phone calls sound like. We do know what they will be discussing, if not the specifics of it. Apparently, the ACC has put together a set of settlement proposals to pitch to Florida State and to pitch to Clemson that would wipe those 4 lawsuits off the map. Settle those lawsuits. Let's get back to doing sports things. Yeah? I don't know what those settlement terms look like. I don't know that anybody does know what those settlement terms look like. I think a lot of people speculate what those settlement terms look like, but I don't know. What I do know is that the consensus amongst the talking heads in the game is that there will be a settlement reached between the 2 schools in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Do they have to amend the terms? Do they have to tweak the terms? Do they accept the terms outright? Who knows? What are the terms? Again, who knows? The 2 objectives, objective number 1, establish a new revenue distribution model. 75+% of the revenue distributed by the conference to member institutions comes from football. That's why Clemson and Florida State are the 2 bannermen carrying the logos into battle against the ACC. Because they are saying, hey, 75+% of the money that you distribute to conference institutions comes from football, and the 2 of us bring in more football money and bring in more football viewership, and football viewership obviously is what dictates the television arrangements that the conference has in place. We should get more money than the rest of the institutions. And up until recently, the ACC has said, no, all 14 are getting an equal share. Looks like that's going to change. Looks like it will be a new revenue distribution model that will include viewership enhancements, viewership perks. The more eyeballs you get on the product, the more of the pot you bring back to your school. Florida State and Clemson have wanted this for a long time. Looks like the ACC is going to acquiesce to their request. The other condition of the settlement is the financial penalties placed upon a school for exiting the league's grant of rights agreement before it expires in 2036, which is like 9 weeks away. The distribution model and the grant of rights agreement are the two topics that Florida State and Clemson have both leaned on as reasons that they wanted out, or at least it was believed were the two reasons that they wanted out. And I do believe that. I also believe there were other schools involved in this conversation. I believe Miami was one of them. I believe UNC was one of them. Even if UNC wasn't one of them, with Bill Belichick taking over as the head coach of the football squad, they are now. I don't know if you heard this. Zoe, I don't know if this came across your radar at all. Apparently, Hard Knocks is doing away with off-season Hard Knocks around an NFL team. Nobody wants to do it anymore. And so they're doing away with it, except for they are still going to do it. It's just they're going to do it with a college football team, and apparently they're going to do it around Bill Belichick in North Carolina.
Yeah, I saw that. And what better team to do it with?
Oh, for sure.
With him. You know what you're getting with him, but also to see the building process of a longtime NFL coach coming in to take over a team with so much hype. And it's going to be interesting.
I agree. Listen, I think Bill Belichick's going to be an abject failure at North Carolina. I'm still tuning in to watch that.
And I think he'll win the ACC in just a couple of years.
We'll find out. I'm absolutely tuning in to watch that Hard Knocks. And here's the thing. If they put that together and it turns out that it's interesting and it starts producing a bunch of social media clips and all of that, now all of a sudden people start tuning into UNC football in the regular season. And UNC gets to step in and go, whoa, ACC. Your settlement just said that viewership is a way to increase revenue distribution. Money, please. So, I think there were more schools in Florida State and Clemson. It's just that those two schools decided to take the punch. And it was a heavy enough punch that they're talking settlement, but also they threw some punches at the ACC. Heavy enough punches that the ACC was willing to talk settlement. Here is what I expect to happen. Number one is I absolutely think they will establish a new revenue distribution model. Because while the ACC may not love it, I do think that the ACC, in its desire to be competitive in all sports, and they are not right now, would like to have the same amount of money go into all their schools. But I think they've come to the realization that if they do that, and they allow it to play out that way, even if it takes until 2036, the Sharks are circling. And they would lose Florida State and Clemson, probably Miami, maybe North Carolina, and who knows what else. And if they lose those schools, they lose a huge chunk of their ability to negotiate new TV contracts in 2036. Part of the reason that, despite it being an awful idea, I think the grant of rights agreement lasted until 2036 was preservation. It is a little on Florida State and Clemson that they looked at that and they went, yeah, we'll sign on to this. But at the same time, remember their entire legal argument about exiting the grant of rights agreement. Their entire legal argument is that they did not believe that the ACC got the best possible terms for their GOR. Not saying that it's unfair it lasts till 2036. Not saying it's unfair that they're stuck in it until 2036. Their argument was the ACC did not negotiate in good faith to get the highest possible revenue return out of the GOR. So I think the ACC, obviously, in this settlement is going to work to appease Florida State and Clemson and do so by saying, okay, we'll give you more money than Wake Forest. You do put more eyes on the product. We're going to give you more money than Wake Forest. And also, we are going to, I think, decrease the penalty for leaving the grant of rights agreement. I think decrease the penalty. I wouldn't say that for sure. I think there's absolutely the possibility that the ACC says, here's the deal, we'll give you more money, but in return for giving you more money, we're not going to change the penalty for leaving. You are going to stay with us through 2036. And again, depending on what that revenue distribution model looks like, that might be what Florida State and Clemson are happy with. Or they are going to decrease the exit penalty, but perhaps they don't decrease it. Maybe they don't decrease it for a couple of years. Maybe it's 4 or 5 years before the penalties comes down. Maybe it's percentage-wise based, right? The penalty this year with, what do we have, 11 years, 11 seasons left to play? Maybe that penalty today is a 75% forfeiture, and then next year it's 68%. And then the year after that, 62%. And it walks down year by year, which is what I think, but I don't know for a fact. So what I do know is if this settlement is agreed to, and I think that it will be, if this settlement is agreed to, I think the ACC becomes the more likely candidate to remain existent and be the everybody else conference that we've been talking about for so long. I think they become the conference over the Big 12 that is able to justify its existence because they keep Clemson, a playoff team. They keep Florida State, not a playoff team last year, but a 13-0 Power 5 conference champion the year before that, a team that a lot, I won't say most, but a lot of us believe should have been in the playoffs 2 years ago, probably as the 1 seed. There's a lot of discussion there. What I do think is if Clemson and Florida State both agree to a settlement today, they have a home. They have a home until at least 2036. Because I think what the ACC is going to do is say, we can't give you SEC money, we can't give you Big Ten money, but we can give you closer to what you would get from those conferences than anybody else in the conference. And what does that allow Florida State and Clemson to do? They may not make quite as much as, say, I don't know, South Carolina and Florida, but they also have way less to compete against in the conference, right? Like maybe they don't get the gazillion-dollar payout that the Gamecocks are going to get from the SEC. Maybe they don't get the gazillion-dollar payout that Florida's getting from the SEC. But Clemson has to compete, still got to compete for recruiting with Georgia and Tennessee and South Carolina and all that, all of whom will have more money. But they don't have to compete in conference funds with Duke, with Wake Forest, with Louisville, etc. I think it effectively creates a world in which the ACC gets to survive, and not just survive, but survive with some level of confidence in themselves, which I don't think they have right now, and I don't think they will have until this settlement is reached between the two schools in the conference. They get to survive. They get to survive with security. And what's the other thing this allows the ACC to start doing? It allows the ACC to look at teams in the Big 12 and not the other way around. I think a lot of us have been kind of like, all right, Florida State and Clemson probably go into the SEC and the Big 10, maybe together, maybe separately. Miami going to the SEC or the Big 10. North Carolina and Duke going to the SEC or the Big 10. Everybody else up for grabs, likely in the Big 12, right? To me, that's been the belief. I think if this settlement is reached, I think what we turn into is the ACC gets to start looking at the teams in the Big 12 and going, whoa, wait a minute. Crown jewels of the Big 12. If you come here with our new revenue distribution model that is based on ratings, viewership, if you're one of the bigger schools out of the Big 12 that's got eyeballs on it, you are going to be rewarded for that in the ACC. Again, you won't make SEC Big 10 money, but you will make more money than you'll make staying in your conference, and you will make more money than the other members of your new conference. I think it is as much a recruiting tool to expand in the future as the SEC and the Big 10 have been doing, as it is a way to shut up Florida State and Clemson. Appease them, get them to drop these lawsuits, get to where you can move on, And then you can start making calls to the Big 12 schools that are the most attractive. Maybe to rejuvenate your basketball conference, which stinks this year. Maybe to boost up the football programs, the football conference, which, again, stank this year outside of the top-notch teams, SMU and Clemson, both of whom, by the way, got waxed in the playoffs. This is a massive deal for the ACC, these phone calls happening today. So, again, I don't know. The insiders, and again, ESPN's got an article up on it if you are interested, written by Andrea Adelson, David Hale, and Pete Thamel. They all three said that they expect a settlement will be reached. Sure. I'll go with that. I'll go with the guys on the inside. Sure. I just have no idea what that settlement's going to be. I know that it is going to be an unequal revenue distribution moving forward, because that is the one thing that Florida State and Clemson I do not think would negotiate on. You are going to give us more money than you're going to give everybody else because we bring more to the table. To me, the question mark is, what about everything else? And what concessions get made from the schools back to the conference? Because I haven't heard anything about that. So I'll be interested. I'll be locked in. Around 2 o'clock today, your boy's going to be diving into the social media world to see if we can find out what the hell gets talked about. Because, again, kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. All right. We got a lot coming up in hour number 2. We got your audio blitz right out of the gate. Got some sound for you we're going to run through today.
Number 3.
Yeah, number 2 of the last 2 hours.
That's not okay. Fine.
Hour number 3. We got your audio blitz.
Just trying to help, man.
Right out of the gate. A couple more stories. We're going to get into some NASCAR later. NFL quarterback carousel. Shefty gave us some thoughts. We got some news yesterday about Sam Darnold. An interesting conversation surrounding Shedeur Sanders. Some people think he may drop all the way out of the first round. Why? Based on his behavior at the combine, in which he did not work out. We'll tell you what that is and more. That's all coming up after the number 1 overall draft pick of Sports Flashes, Lonzo.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to get, due compensation for that. The Atlanta Braves will be without starting catcher Sean Murphy for 4 to 6 weeks, which will cause him to miss the beginning of the season. Murphy sustained a cracked rib, according to reports, when he was hit by a pitch during a spring game last Friday. Murphy is expected to be replaced in the opening day lineup by Drake Baldwin. Duke's Cooper Flagg helped his Blue Devils to a 93-60 win over Wake Forest in what was likely his final game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Flagg finished with 38 points, 8 boards, 7 assists, 3 blocks, and a pair of steals in the win. Duke's 17th in an undefeated home campaign. I don't know if you knew this, so that's pretty good. Tune in this Saturday at 8 p.m. as the Furman Paladins take on the Sanford Bulldogs in the first round of the SoCon basketball tournament. It's Furman versus Sanford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan, upstate. Not sure I'll pronounce my D there. Paladins. 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 Don't worry, Susan. I'll make sure he sees that when he comes back in the room. If there was a challenge made to Rob by Cole, it's not a good challenge because he already said he wouldn't do that. So it's making a challenge for someone knowing they're not going to do it to make yourself look. Cole wouldn't do that.
Oh, the 40? Yeah, I'm not running a 40.
I want Jalen Williams, and I'm possibly gonna want Chet Holmgren and a couple of draft picks. I'm just getting the list.
And here's my answer to you. And here's my answer. Here's what my answer to Phoenix would be: stay your ass in Arizona and keep on losing, because you ain't getting no depth.
Okay, well keep it moving then. Why you call us about
We better than you now.
We didn't call you. You
probably did call me. You probably did call me. Because y'all ain't doing
Play
anything. Come play. Ain't no problem.
Hey,
ain't no problem.
I'm gonna do you like President. Hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do like President Trump did. President Zelensky. You in no position to bargain. Okay, I just want you to know you in no position to bargain. You need to say thank you. Okay,
I don't do
thank you right
politics.
now.
Let's go.
I don't do politics. Let's go. Rob, from the beginning of his hatred towards everything that Cole did yesterday, said that he would not run one and he has no interest in doing that.
Yeah, Cole would dust my ass. Let's be clear.
Yeah. He's just saying that he didn't run as fast as he said he did.
Correct. This is the old...
I disagree with Rob on that, but he did say that's what he said.
This is the old argument of I don't need to be a chef to know my steak is burnt. You know what I mean? Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show goes right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Fan Upstate. How do you do? Yeah. Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. What up, world? Great to be with you. Robin, the great one, Alonzo, with you. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning. Nope, Tuesday morning. What's today? Tuesday? It's Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday morning. I'll get it right.
Are you sure?
Nope.
You good?
Not at all. We're getting there, though.
Do I need to call some help? I don't know who I'm going to get to come and help you. I don't know what kind of help you need, but I mean,
professional.
Yeah,
Professional.
what
are we doing?
Exactly, because that can mean a whole lot when you talk about professional.
That's not unfair. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:01 in the morning. Time for the Audio Blitz, the best audio that we have picked up since the last time that we did the Audio Blitz. Got a couple of clips we're going to run at you here, and we will react and respond to all of them. I want to start with this one. Josh Metellus is a player for the Minnesota Vikings. Josh Metellus does a fun little segment on the Vikings social media channel called Tell Us Metellus, which is a great name.
It's well done. Very well done.
Where he goes around and he asks questions of his fellow Minnesota Viking teammates. The most recent episode he put together was one where he asked every member of the Minnesota Vikings, what's the weirdest app on your phone? Now, I got 2 clips here. First, I'm going to play you a random assortment of different teammates. These are all members of the Minnesota Vikings and coaching staff giving their answers.
Reddit. Actually, hey, shout out to Reddit. Reddit, you actually very informative. I mean, I can't tell you what he's doing on Reddit, but I know Reddit is very informative.
I have an area code app because I get a lot of random calls to my, and so I'm like, where's this number coming from? Places I've never heard of, and then I put it in there. It tells me, shows me on a map exactly where it is.
Tracker.
What kind of tracker?
Yeah.
GPS?
No.
You running?
No. If you shoot something, like a deer.
You a big hunting guy?
Yeah.
Duolingo?
Yeah.
What language did you know?
I'm trying to learn Spanish, dog. I'm trying to tell my daughter, but it ain't going too well right now.
Line.
Tell me, you got Walmart.
Right. What did you...
You use that?
No. I got Richie Bros on here. This is like an auction site. So before I was playing football, I thought about getting a box truck, and they do auctions on there. But I never used it.
Turbulence forecast. It's not like I'm deathly afraid of turbulence, but I just like to know if there's going to be a little moderate chop.
Candy Crush. Candy Crush is not weird. Tell me something you got on the phone that somebody would be surprised. I'm not surprised about Candy Crush.
Reddit. I'm a big Redditor.
Reddit times 2. We got another Reddit. Reddit is very informative.
Yeah, for sure. Clash of Clans.
That's not that weird. I feel like that was a very popping game at one point.
That's popping for me still.
You still on Clash of Clans?
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's why it's weird. I'm 24 years old and I still play.
I got a couple. First of all, the turbulence guy. That sounded like someone from The Office. What
that was
going on
the
there?
play-by-play voice
Okay.
of the Vikings. So
Okay.
makes
All right.
sense. That's the only dude in the office that flies as much as the guys on the team do. Is the play-by-play guy.
Turbulence. I want to know.
It's like, I've got to know if there's some mild chop.
There might be. I may have had a late lunch, and if there's turbulence,
I need a better
I might need
play-by-play
a
voice.
bag.
I need a play-by-play voice that Lonzo would mock. Maybe that's what I need. Maybe then I'll make it. All right, so you got.
How do you know I don't already?
That's also fair. You got an area code notifier, which, by the way, yes, please. All right, that's a great concept. A guy who has a tracker, so basically when he goes hunting, he can track where he kills things, so he can know what the most fertile hunting grounds are. You've got a Duolingo, which I got to tell you, I tried the Duolingo. All right, I was gonna learn French. I got like a 200-day streak in. I felt real good about it. And then one day I was like, let me practice some French without Duolingo, and I was just not good. So I dumped it. Walmart, Richie Bros, which is apparently like an auction site, but it's like random stuff, which I got to tell you, I got like 3 of those on my phone, and I bought some weird stuff off of them. A turbulence tracker, Candy Crush, Clash of Clans, and 2 players said Reddit, which, again, me too. Big Reddit guy over here.
Well, the guy who talked about Clash of Clans, and then he was like, "Well, I'm 25. I probably shouldn't." Come on, dude. I mean, I
own it, bro.
Rob has games on his phone
now,
and he's a lot older than 25.
That's also true.
And I have games on my phone, and I'm even older than that. So
that's also true. I said all of that and played you that clip to give you this one, ladies and gentlemen. Here is Josh Metellus, joined by Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback, Sam Darnold, and Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell when he asked them about the weirdest app on their phone.
I have a bird app, so like if a bird makes a noise and I turn the app on, it'll tell me what bird is chirping.
What?
I do the exact same thing in the off season. I got a bird feeder outside.
I got a bird feeder with a camera, and we bird people out here. We watch. This is
that's kind of cool. I didn't know that there was an app for that. You think it would also identify strange noises in the woods when I'm trying to get to my car?
Very different thing.
Because I'm pretty sure that I'm hearing a coyote, kind of a yipping, kind of. I guess it could be a fox, but I'm gonna have to find an app.
I found this morning when I heard that clip for the first time an application put forward on the Google Play Store by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology.
Oh, here we go.
An ornithologist, of course, is a biologist who studies birds.
Mm-hmm.
This comes from Cornell, a well-respected Ivy League school, a hub, a source of documented scientific literacy, something this country sorely lacks. They have an application out that you can download today, and by can, I mean I definitely did, which you can identify birds using pictures of them, videos of them, or recordings of their songs that they sing. And I'm going to tell you there's nothing more I'm excited about today. Although I will be not going to Floor Field and watching a little midday college baseball, doing my work out on the hill in left field while I watch the boys swing the ting. I am most excited.
There will be birds out there when you're out there.
I am most excited about taking my booty home around sunset tonight when the feathery boys are flying around in the backyard and doing a little wild bird IDing with my boy Sammy D.
I don't know why you don't do that at the baseball game.
I mean, because it's pigeons. I can ID a pigeon pretty easy.
There's more than pigeons downtown.
I can identify a pigeon pretty easy.
You probably got,
most of the
probably
other
got
birds.
some crows. You probably got some blackbirds.
I don't need help identifying a crow. I got that one. Caw-caw!
No, but it's more about by hearing a sound and wanting to know what bird it is.
Caw-caw!
Yeah,
It's a crow. I got that one.
They don't really sound
or a
like
pigeon.
that.
Cool. That's more. You know what I'm going for there. I know a pigeon.
You can roll your R's like that.
I need
It's
to
so
go.
annoying.
I need to go out into the woods, out into the sticks, and get the weird birds.
So you need to come to my house.
No, you got more than birds. This is an older clip, sir, but it checks out. Last year on SNY, a news station out of New York, they went to a Mets game, and the Mets fans built a beer snake. You know what a beer snake is, where everybody in the section goes and gets beers, and then they donate their cups, and then they try to get a long stack of cups that goes from the top of the section to the bottom. They went, and they sent their stadium reporter to the source of the beer snake to ask some questions about it. I've never heard of this clip, and now I want this guy to have his own television show.
Can you explain how the cup snake begins?
Oh, for sure, Stevie. First off, I want to say hi to my mom, Kelly Johnson, my family, James, Allie, Jim. Love you guys. Basically, the snake starts 6th, 7th inning. Everyone's got a few beverages in. Someone stands up and goes, "Give me your cups. Give me your cups." You see the snake form up at the beginning. Everyone throws the cups. Now what? Was it the 8th inning? 9th inning?
7.
Basically the 8th, Steve.
Yeah, and it goes all the way up from the...
All the way up, that's how it forms. Pretty simple.
That kid, based on my watching of the video, was probably a college kid in his early 20s, maybe mid-20s at latest. And he decided not just to answer the questions and answer them well, but to go full broadcaster with a buzz on it. He's like, "Great question, Jim. Let me tell you how the beer snake works. First of all, we come on out here to Shea Field. We all start drinking a couple of beers. People say, cups, give me your cups. Then, Jim, we all pass the cups to the middle of the section. We start stacking those cups, Jim, and eventually those cups are going to get 4 or 5 seats deep, Jim. Now all of a sudden we're an attraction. Once people decide that we are the attraction, Jim, they're going to want to participate. They start passing more cups. Just like that, we have a world record beer snake, Jim. Pretty simple. What inning is it? 8th, 9th? It's the 6th. Basically the 8th, Jim. What a guy.
All right, so I looked him up. That's a frat bro right there.
For sure.
It's a flat-faced frat bro. A guy who fits in with the frat, but when he gets out in the real society and has to get a real job, doesn't know what's going on. Look at that guy.
Lonzo, that guy is me, and I have a job with you.
No. I'm just
yes.
By the way, I'm talking about.
I am 40, and I will go help build a beer snake today.
All right.
If anybody comes out
All
to
right.
Florida today to watch
taking-
baseball, I'll help you do it.
You're taking offense about the alcohol thing, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guy's face. And with his face shape, the shape of his face is what I'm saying. The guy's the shape of his face.
You're saying he has a punchable face.
It's flat. It's weird looking. But he looks right.
He looks like Adam Devine.
If he's you roll into your frat and there's a guy sitting on the couch, it's that guy. It's that guy. But when you put him out in real society, he doesn't actually fit anywhere. That's all I'm saying.
I like that guy a lot. I really do. Hey, Dominic Mysterio.
What?
What's your Waffle House order?
Dominic Mysterio, what is your Waffle House order?
Oh man, my Waffle House order is the sandwich that has it's the Philly steak sandwich, no onions, hash browns, no cheese on them. Side order of 4 egg whites with another side of hash browns, and then 2 peanut butter waffles.
Philly cheesesteak, but no onions, which is weird because, I'm not a huge onion guy, but on a Philly, I got to have them. Got to have the onions, got to have the green peppers, got to have the cheese.
Well, maybe Dominic has a sensitive stomach and, the onions mess with it.
Well,
it's possible.
He shouldn't because trash cans eat everything. All right?
Wow.
He's a deadbeat.
Wow. Me cracking on the guy before
back,
is
Ray.
nothing like what you're doing now.
I got your back, Ray.
Why are you
the greater Mysterio?
Backing up a deadbeat dad?
Because he had a loving, wonderful relationship with a young lady named Rhea Ripley, and he ditched her just like that. Just like that.
That's
no
what
breakup.
That's what it comes down to.
No conversation, no communication, just ditched her mid-match.
He went to a more caring relationship. First of all, what's that syndrome when you've been kidnapped and then you're okay with the kidnapper? Forget what that syndrome
It's called
is.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome. He had Stockholm Syndrome. He was kidnapped. He was beat up. He was abused by Rhea Ripley. And then he saw a way out with a much prettier and younger, I think, person who helped him get out of that horrible relationship. And you're defending the kidnapper.
Yeah, he's a backstabbing
You're defending
dumpster
the
fire.
kidnapper and abuser, and that's horrible.
Backstabbing dumpster person.
His dad's a deadbeat dad.
Chris Rose covers Major League Baseball. He said it's not the Dodgers spending that has a problem. It's the perception of it that is the problem. Why?
He did say that. Apparently, he said that, and we're all going to hear how he said that. See, I'm covering so you can try to figure out what's wrong.
I don't know what's wrong, other than just my
Haven't we all
frustration with everything.
awakened in the morning and looked in the mirror and go, I don't know what's wrong?
I mean, go home and cuddle with my dog and watch some shows.
All right, well, you'll hear from Chris Rose later. Let's see. Is it all my clips that don't work now? Oh yeah, the whole system is shut down. What a perfect time for that to happen.
Did you mute it?
No, it just stopped. It just said it crashed. So, only it's been fine for 2 hours and 15 minutes, but the time that I actually need it to work, it dies.
It's because you were telling lies about Dominic Mysterio, and this is just karma.
My cart wall is the Dominic Mysterio of apps. Just garbage and not there when I need it the most.
My opinion, the biggest issue that baseball's got is that they've got a perception problem, not a reality problem. The perception is we shouldn't even bother with the 2025 season. Here's the reality. We've had 25 seasons since the turn of the century. In how many of those years did the team that had the best record win the World Series? You want to give me a guess? 6. You nailed it. The Dodgers last year became the 6th team that finished with the regular season's best record to also go on and win the World Series. The other thing I hear from people is that, well, if you don't spend in the top half of the payroll, why even watch the season? Here's the reality. Same thing goes in the NBA. I just did the previous 8 years. Here's where the opening day payrolls ranked. Dodgers, and going backward of all the champions, 8th, 9th, 11th, for the Astros, 13th for the Braves in 21, 2nd, 7th, 1st, 18th, and 14th. The NBA champions over that same span, Boston, 6th in payroll. Denver, the year before that, 9th, 1st, 13th, 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 1st. The point is that good players cost money. If you don't want to watch baseball because you think, well, my team has no shot, so I'm not going to do I'm going to go on to the next thing. Then that's on you. And oh, by the way, all you people who are complaining that you're not going to be watching baseball, I'll see you March 27th on opening day because I know you're going to be there, just like I'll be there.
Interesting take. Don't have a lot of pushback.
It's very aggressive. I mean,
that being said,
and angry for some reason.
I don't think it's angry. Yes, it is angry, and I'll tell you why it's angry. I understand the anger. It's angry because of Mark Ryan. It's angry because people like me who actually like baseball. We sit here and we listen to people grab microphones every day and they go, baseball is bad and it's dying and it's struggling and nobody cares and blah, blah, blah. And it's not. It's none of those things.
Was that your Mark Ryan?
No, that was just generic grumpy old radio host show guy. It is annoying, to tell you the truth. It is annoying to be somebody who a chunk of me making my living comes from baseball. And baseball is the sport that I have watched more games of, gone to more games of, than any other sport. I love the sport. I love the sport. I love its place, its role in American history.
Winning.
And so I get very frustrated with people constantly crapping on it. And while I understand the frustration with the Dodgers, because it's not just that they have the number one payroll in baseball. And I do think that this is where I push back against Chris Rose. It's not that the Dodgers have the number one salary in baseball. It's that the Dodgers will have the number one salary in baseball because of deferred money until the sun enlarges and engulfs the earth.
You stay classy.
It's just going to be that forever because they have deferred a larger amount of money than the gross domestic product of about half of the countries on the planet, and that's not a joke.
No way.
That's legitimate. There's like 75 countries that the Dodgers have more money on their deferred payroll than they produce as countries. It's ridiculous. That being said,
who's on that list? Like Guam?
I don't know. I just looked up the number. I didn't look up what
Ecuador.
countries won. Here's what I will say. The Dodgers are playing by the rules. There's nothing they've done that's illegal. There's nothing they've done against the rules. Every team has the right to spend money that way. If your ownership refuses to do it, sucks to be you. It does, even as a guy who just went off on Chris Rose because I love baseball, it does kind of suck because it does kind of feel like this year's a foregone conclusion to me. It does kind of feel like it's the Dodgers world and we're all living in it. What they have done is not illegal. Doesn't really feel fair, though, right? Take a break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
So make me go 3 beds, man.
Wesley, I actually tried stand-up comedy about 10 years ago, and it sucked a lot. I wrote out, I think you got 2 minutes. I wrote out 2 minutes. I got on stage, I tried it. And what I got told, it was an open mic night at an improv club kind of deal. I got told by the owner that I had a ton of potential and no idea what to do with it. And I don't know why, getting told I had potential felt good. But then being told that it was going to be a hell of a lot of work to figure it out, it just kind of drove me away from it. I've considered going back. Be right back. Give me 30 seconds.
Song is killing it, and they go, it's gonna do. I don't know, just keep working, kid.
My opening joke was about a girl that I had bought a perfume for that I really liked, and I was like, "Would you wear this perfume for me?" And she put it in the bathroom, and then one day, I smelled that perfume and I got real excited, right? So I was coming down the hallway and I'm thinking time. Walk into the room, don't see her. Still smell the perfume. And I'm like, oh, this must be surprise time. And then it turned out she was in the bathroom taking a poop and she was using my perfume I bought her to cover up the scent of her remnants. And then when I was like, yo, what the hell? She told me, this is how you know I love you. I'm using this perfume to cover up the scent of the crime. And I had written it into a much funnier routine style performance, but that was my opener. And the guy was like, it's got potential. You just need to learn how to write and structure a joke. Your delivery's good, your timing good, your charisma's good, but you got to learn joke structure. And I think it may have been less that I was discouraged and more along the lines of I'm not going to do this enough that I'm going to go put hours and hours into crafting and studying it. You know what I mean?
So you're lazy.
Sure. Or I'm busy, and it's not like I'm going to take the
But
time.
You got to do something that other people didn't have enough
Yeah,
guts
I
to
tried
do.
it.
You went
I
out
gave
and
it a
gave
run.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
It didn't go awful,
I
but
would
it
never
was going to
try
be
that.
it was going to be a lot of work to get good at it. And it's like, eh. Texter said, I love baseball. And when the MLB actually has an enforceable salary, I'll watch it again. What the Dodgers have done is not fair at any level. This is a weird spot, Texter, because I somehow simultaneously agree and disagree with your text.
When's the last time a baseball team bought a championship?
I mean, the Dodgers last year. They had the number one salary in baseball last year. But again, I would also say...
Okay, so you're saying it's the norm. The team that pays the most is the team that wins the
It is
championship.
absolutely not at all. The Braves, when they won their 2021 World Series, were the 13th out of 30 payrolls.
Because not being a baseball guy, all I hear about, Yankees, all they do is they spend all this money and everything. But how many times have the Yankees won the championship in the last 10 years?
That's more an organizational failure, but I get where you're going. Here's the reason I both agree and disagree with you. The Dodgers did win the World Series last year, and they won the World Series last year with the number one payroll in baseball. But here's the thing that the Dodgers are doing now that kind of throws the kink in the argument. There's two different numbers you have to look at. It is both the active payroll and it is also deferred money. Money that the team says, we're going to pay. Shohei Ohtani is getting almost $1 billion. And most of it won't hit his payroll until he's in his late 40s. It's Bobby Bonilla with the Mets. Every year, what is it, June 1st or whatever, Bobby Bonilla gets a check for like $4 million hitting his account from the New York Mets. Deferred money. It makes the money feel fake. That's what it feels like. It's monopoly money. They can just defer it. And obviously, that creates a unique strategic advantage for teams that have way bigger television and geographic advantages, like the Los Angeles Dodgers. However, there's another side to this argument, which is the Dodgers aren't violating any rules. The Dodgers aren't doing anything that nobody else has the right, the ability to do. It's just that other owners won't do it. I look at, for instance, the Miami Marlins. A handful of years ago, the Miami Marlins were a World Series caliber team. They made a run, and then what did they do? They got rid of everybody. They fire-sailed everybody worth a damn. Why did they do it? Did they do it because they didn't believe that they were going to be a good team anymore? No. They did it so that they didn't have to pay the players high salaries that they would have earned by going to a World Series. They didn't want to do it. And they have followed that philosophy ever since. Right now, I'm actually looking up and down the Marlins payroll right now. Not their payroll, their active roster right now. I know like a couple of players, right? Matt Mervis. Why is Matt Mervis the starting first baseman for the Miami Marlins? Matt Mervis was drafted by the Cubs 2 years ago. Never caught on, never did anything. So at a point in time where the Marlins didn't have much money on the payroll, they decided, you know what, we're going to start a 22-year-old guy who has zero Major League Baseball experience outside of like 7 games for the Cubs 2 years ago. That's who we're going to start at first base. There was a first base market this year. No, we're not active. We're going to go get a rook why? Because we don't have to pay him. Second base, Otto Lopez. Third base, Connor Norby. Shortstop, Xavier Edwards. Like, nobody's. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and make you a prediction right now. Their opening day roster, starting pitcher, is Sandy Alcantara. That guy's good. That guy's a stud. He can go. Bet you $1 he's off this roster by trade deadline. Anybody want to take me up on that? Bet you $1. Why? Because he's going to be a Cy Young candidate early in the season. They're going to start to realize that we're going to have to pay this guy at the end of the year. So let's get some comp for him. Let's go get some young guys that we can keep on rookie deals. Marlins, one of those teams that I'm like, y'all don't build a farm system so that you have a sustainable foundation of good young talent moving forward. Y'all build a farm system so that you can trade away good players and bring up young players on cheap contracts and not have to pay anybody. Why? Because you still get money for being on TV. Pittsburgh Pirates. I am heartbroken for Paul Skeens. Y'all watched any Paul Skeens this spring training? Paul Skeens added like 3 pitches. He threw a pitch on Sunday in their spring training game. He threw a pitch that made me out loud say, holy. This pitch started 8 inches off the plate. And this thing took a trajectory turn at like legitimately 45 degrees to the left. Phew. For a strike. It was 8 inches off the plate. It crossed the pipe. Batter was like, all right, I quit. It was filthy. It was beyond filthy. Paul Skeens plays in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is another team that is notorious for sending guys out of town the minute they get good. So, on one hand, Texter, I totally agree with you. It feels kind of garbage that the Dodgers have been able to assemble what I believe, this is not a hot take, I mean this sincerely, might be the greatest accumulation of sports talent in one sport on a single roster since the Dream Team. And they're not, they can spread the cost of that out over 20 or 30 years, and that's not an exaggeration. On the flip side, every team in Major League Baseball has the right to do that. Every team in Major League Baseball can do the same thing, just none of them want to. So it's a problem with system for sure, but it's failure of ownership. The Dodgers aren't the only one allowed to do that. The Padres could do it. They're right down the road in San Diego, California. They could do it. The Giants are in San Francisco. They could do it. All these teams could do it. The Marlins could do it. The Pirates could do it. The Braves can do it. The Yankees can do it. Any of them can do it. The owners don't want to. And again, I don't fault them for that. The Dodgers have a tab over the next 20 years of $1 billion that they got to pay guys who, again, who knows how long they're going to be good for. Listen, Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player that's ever walked the face of planet Earth. I don't know. If you're not a baseball guy, I don't know how to explain to you how beyond shocking it is that that man won a most valuable player as a designated hitter. Not an outfielder, not a pitcher, a DH. He won the MVP. What's he going to be next year when he is an MVP caliber DH and a Cy Young caliber pitcher? But what if he's not? What if he does like Matt Olson did, where he was the most dominant hitter in the National League, and then the next year he's very average? What if that shoulder surgery, that elbow surgery that he had to go through, changed his technique and he's never the same pitcher? Like, the Dodgers are on the hook for his salary still. He's not going to be like, oh, my bad, never mind, you don't have to pay me that. Hell no. He's still going to want that money. So they are very much on the hook. But just looking at that roster, who the hell's going to beat that team? So I get it, Texter. And I get it in a weird way, in that on one hand, I absolutely do believe that the system is flawed. I do not think teams should be able to run up a tab for 50 years. The Dodgers will still be paying money to Shohei Ohtani when I am on my deathbed. That's how long this tab's going to run. I don't like that. But on the flip side, it's not like the Dodgers are the only one allowed to do it. Everybody's allowed to do it. The Braves could do it tomorrow. The Cubs could do it tomorrow. This is, to circle back around to a conversation we had on the show last week, this is why I will campaign forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Hamilton, you're welcome. This is why I'll campaign forever on the creation of multi-levels of professional sports and promotion relegation within them. Because right now, there is no punishment for the Miami Marlins for selling every player who's worth a damn. There's no punishment for the Pittsburgh Pirates for selling every player who's worth a damn. There's no punishment for the LA Dodgers for stockpiling every player who's worth a damn for the next 30 years. So, the system is the system, and everybody can participate. On the flip side, while there's a ton of rewards for the owners willing to spend money, there's no punishment for the ones who aren't. And until there is, what's going to change and why? Back after this, the Rob Brown Show rolls on, the Fan Upstate. Come on. I suck today. I suck today. Golly, man. I'm legitimately stepping away for 30 seconds out of frustration. Be right back.
man. I was really over sad.
The Hot Rod Brown Show is back on the radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob the Great Malonzo and you. 844-326-3663. Where my baseball fans at? Speaking of baseball, do you know what I have very much enjoyed in baseball spring training thus far? I have very much enjoyed the automatic ball strike system. Now, I will say this. Just make it full-time. Because I said, when they said we're going to allow it, but it is going to be for challenges only. Each team gets 2. They can only be initiated by pitcher, catcher, or batter. If you successfully challenge a ball or a strike, you keep the challenge. If you do not.
Wait. It can only be initiated by pitcher, catcher,
or batter.
So
correct.
Who else would there have been to initiate it?
Managers, coaches.
Okay, all right.
Players in the field. There's a lot of guys out there.
So that guy playing first base, he can't see if that's a strike.
No, but a shortstop or second baseman that is playing over toward the bag may have an eye on it. A center fielder might have an eye on it. Regardless of the formula.
They're not robo eyes, so you don't. Those eyes aren't good enough. Okay, I get it.
A ball's a ball's, a strike's a strike. It's not subjective. It's objective.
Well, it depends on your height.
Now, let's do this. Max Scherzer is a longtime pitcher in the league. And as I told you they would, pitchers who have made a career by throwing pitches around the rubber, the black on the outside, pitchers that have thrived in Major League Baseball by attempting to trick umpires into calling balls as strikes, they're going to hate it. Catchers who have survived by framing pitchers and trying to trick an umpire into believing that a ball is a strike are not going to like it. Max Scherzer grabbed a mic yesterday.
We have a buffer zone already kind of there. Should there be a buffer zone with the challenge system? When you hit your spot, a 50-50 pitch on the edge, if you hit your spot, but if you're throwing a pitch on the other side, and you're reaching away, it's a 50-50 call. Well, you should really only be getting that 2 out of 10 times. And so that's kind of the human element of the game. You want to hit your spot. The electronic strike zone doesn't view it that way. It only views it as 50-50 and 50-50 on everything. So when you say the human element of the game, that's what the human element of the game is. Do we want to get rid of that?
So I challenged y'all, frankly, last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was that it was announced that ABS was going to make its way into the spring games. 61% of the games this spring would have the system available. It would be a 2-challenge system. I said, for those of you that are anti this and have used the words human element, do me a favor and explain that to me in a way that doesn't make it sound like balls and strikes. Excuse me. That doesn't make it sound like the human element is, I like incorrect calls. I prefer incorrect calls. Max Scherzer just gave it his best, and he was wrong about it. He said, we got a buffer zone out there. Now, the buffer zone is the strike zone of any given umpire behind home plate. And he says, if you throw over the buffer zone, if you hit your spot, you should get that call 50% of the time. Max, here's the thing. We have a spot. It's home plate. That's the spot. Is it over the plate or is it not? It's home plate. That's the spot. If you want to strike, throw it over home plate. Or if you want to strike, throw it outside, but maybe put some spin and movement on it in a way that you trick the batter into thinking it's not outside, that it's over the plate and he swings and misses. That's the human element. The human element is 100% the pitcher pitching and the batter batting. That's the human. The human element is the humans who are doing the playing of the baseballs. That's it. The umpire should not have an impact on the game. A pitch is a pitch, and then it's a strike or it's a ball. It's not subjective. What Max is making the argument here is, shouldn't I have the opportunity to trick an umpire, the only authority figure on the field? Shouldn't I, as a pitcher, have the right to trick him into making an incorrect call in my favor? No. Throw a strike or throw a ball that looks like a strike so the batter swings at it. That's the human element. There is only one human element I'm interested in. The pitcher versus the batter. That's it. That's the only human. I'm not interested in the human element of the only authority figure on the field getting to make a wrong call. I don't like this take from Max Scherzer. And again, I understand it. I get it. There's a lot of things that are changing, for instance, in the world of sports talk radio right now. There's a lot that's changing. Our reliance on and interaction with social media is changing day by day. We get new directives weekly about what we're supposed to do and say and how we're supposed to do it and say it on social media. Our interaction in the digital world is changing every day. And there's three groups of people in the industry. There's Group A, the old guys who go, I ain't doing all this crap. I don't want to do that. And those people are being phased out of the industry. Then there's Group 2, which is the youngsters, the whippersnappers that are just getting into the game. And they don't know anything different than that. That's all they've known in this industry. So they're perfectly fine with it. They're going to be going full tilt. Hell yeah, I'll tweet. Hell yeah, I'll make reels. Hell yeah, I'll do this, that, and the other in the digital world. Because it's all they've known. And then there's Group 3, the guys like me that are in the middle that go, I don't love it, but I also understand that if I want to keep my job, it ain't up to me. So I'm going to learn it. Maybe I got to make some adaptations. I have had to teach myself how to edit video to a social media format. Why? Because it's mandated. Because I got to do it. Hell, even if it's not mandated, it is critical for my survival in this industry. So what did I do? I sat down. I went to YouTube. I went to Reddit. I signed up for some classes, and I taught myself how to make videos so that I can stay relevant. With this, there's three groups of pitchers. There's the pitchers that are just going to hate it and they're not going to learn to adapt. There's the young guys that are going to be brought up in this world and it's all they're going to know. And then there's the guys in the middle that are maybe not going to love it, but they're going to figure it the hell out. And we're going to get to see, not this year, but probably next year, what that looks like. Now, there's one other aspect of this conversation that I wanted to get into. You know what my favorite thing about the ABS is so far? That it works. That not only does it work more efficiently than I ever thought it would have. The average challenge right now is adding 16 and a half seconds to the game. Now, I don't want to do what I wanted to do and say, let's round it down to 15 for simple math. But let's say 16. 16 and a half seconds. Hell, 17, whatever you want. If all four challenges are overruled, you have added 2 minutes and 8 seconds to the game. If all four challenges are upheld and you add 4 more, and by the way, very few of these games are seeing all 4 challenges utilized successfully. But let's say they are. All 4 initial challenges are successful, and then 4 more challenges happen. You have added 4 minutes and 16 seconds to the game. If you are saying that you will sit down and watch a 2-hour and 31-minute baseball game, the average length of time of an MLB regular season game last year. If you're saying, I'll sit down and watch 2 hours and 31 minutes of baseball, but I will not watch 2 hours and 35 minutes, that's irresponsible. You're full of crap. You're lying to me. Okay? Nobody's watching a thing for 2 hours and 31 minutes, but unwilling to do it for 2 hours and 35 minutes. That's not a thing. If this was adding 30, 45 minutes to baseball, then that'd be an argument. But it's not. It's not. Most of these games are having an average of 2 minutes added to them. 2 minutes and like 4 seconds. Is that breaking your enjoyment? No. Shut up. No, it's not. Even better than that. You know how we could make the game go even faster? Because this was Cody Decker's argument last Saturday. He's like, you spent all this time with the base runner and extra innings rule and the pitch clock and the this and the that and the everything else to shorten these games up, and now you're adding a challenge, to which I said, hold on, Deck. We're adding on average 2 minutes to the game. Tops 2 minutes to the game. You know how I can make the game go faster? Just let the system call every ball and strike. Then we don't have to wait. See, because right now the way it works is this. Pitcher, wind up, pitch, heater, right on the corner. Ball, strike, I don't know. Umpire says, strike two. Batter goes, don't like that call, taps the helmet. Umpire stands up. He waves off the clock. He turns around. He touches his little earpiece. Up in the box, the eye in the sky. Baseball god looks at the replay being run by a computer. It says ball. He goes, reverse that. Umpire whites. He turns, and as soon as they put the graphic up on the video Jumbotron, he goes, the call on the field is overturned, ball two. And then they just line it up and throw it again. That's it. That's the process. The overwhelming majority of the 16 and a half seconds per challenge is coming waiting on the graphic to be shown on the screen, not the actual determination of ball or strike. That's made before the challenge is enabled. I've seen this tech. As soon as the ball hits the catcher's mitt, there's a computer screen up in the press box that shows that graphic. That's not something where they're like, okay, let's go ahead and replay it. Rewind that, Jim. Let's take it back 3 seconds. All right, here comes the one. That's all done instantaneously. The 17 and a half seconds is the challenge, the recognition of the challenge, the turn, the waiting, the score team going, go ahead and overturn that call, Jim. The umpire turning back around, clicking on his mic, waiting for the graphic, and then going, the call on the field is overturned, ball two. And then coming back to the box and settling in for the next pitch. I can get rid of all that. All that. Soon as the Hawkeye tech says, that's a strike, the umpire just goes, strike two, let's move on. Ball two, let's move on. Like, this is going to shorten the games. So, those two things combined, neither one of them makes a damn lick of sense to me. We had a buffer zone, 50-50 ball on the outside. It's not 50-50, Max. It's over the black or it's not. That's it. It's a strike or it's not. It's not 50-50. It's 50-50 if I got a human eyeball back there that's watching a 103-mile-an-hour Aroldis Chapman heater on the outside and has to make up his mind that an object this big, moving at 105 miles an hour, crossed over a stripe that big in this much distance. That's impossible. Our eyes just aren't that good. Nobody's are. Tech's eyes are. Technology's eyes are. A 1,000,000 frame a second camera and a bunch of lasers are. Max, it's only a 50-50 ball because human beings are incapable of determining whether a moving object the size of a baseball crossed over a stripe that is a millimeter wide at 90+ miles an hour. We just can't do it. So, let's use tech that is. Because again, that pitch you threw, it's a strike or it's not. It's not buffer zones. It's not 50-50. You're making all of that up. I've read the MLB rulebook. There's nowhere in it that says it's a strike if the umpire says so, or it's a ball if the umpire. It says if the ball crosses the plate, it's a strike. If any portion of the baseball crosses over the rubber on either side, it's a strike. That's all it says. So
it says nothing about strike zones.
It does say something about strike zones.
Because you just said it just crosses the plate and it's a strike. Because that's
Max is not talking about is it at knees or logo or belt or whatever. And again, I will say this. There is room for an improvement, and the room for that improvement is to be able to next move that slider, which, by the way, it can go up and down a little bit, right? It is adjustable. But move that slider to the spot. When the batter gets into his stance, as soon as he is set, that tech marks exactly where the strike zone is vertically. Max is talking horizontally. He's talking about, am I getting the buffer on the rubber on either side? That's objective. That plate ain't moving. That plate doesn't shrink or expand. It's the exact same plate in every stadium in Major League Baseball. Same plate. Same height on the mound, same distance to the dish, same width of the dish. That's not changing. You want to talk about the variable in terms of up and down, vertical, north and south? We can do that. But I will take 100% and then we figure out vertical before I take, let's just make it up. Let's just make it up on either side. Let's just, whatever he has found. Maybe his wife gave him some extra loving last night. He's feeling real generous. Big strike zone today. Maybe he's not. Real mad. Short strike zone today. No, it's over the plate or it's not. This argument from Max Scherzer is, it's hot garbage. It's exactly what I hear when I hear somebody that's a billionaire start to argue for tax protocols. Yeah, I don't want to hear it from you, bud. I don't want to hear it from you. I want to hear it from people who, study it, understand it, not people who benefit from it and nobody else. That's just me. Maybe I'm alone. I'm not. I don't know how to get out of this segment. So.
I will. You said umpire whites. That's the only thing I heard in the entire thing.
Sports Flash.
Speaking of baseball, the Atlanta Braves will be without starting catcher Sean Murphy for 4 to 6 weeks, which will cause him to miss the beginning of the season. Panic starting already over there. Murphy sustained a cracked rib, according to reports, when he was hit by a pitch during a spring game last Friday. Murphy is expected to be replaced in the opening day lineup by Drake Baldwin. Duke's Cooper Flagg helped his Blue Devils to a 93-60 win over Wake Forest in what was likely his final game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Flagg finished with 38 points, 8 boards, 7 assists, 3 blocks, and a pair of steals in the win. Duke's 17th in an undefeated home campaign. Last I checked, that's pretty good. Tune in Saturday at 8 p.m. as the Furman Paladins take on the Sanford Bulldogs in the first round of the SoCon basketball tournament. It's Furman versus Sanford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan, Upstate. Greenville.
Taxes is relaxing when you file for free.
I can file for free? TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your maximum refund. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and student loan interest. See qualify at TurboTax.com/free.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's Bet MGM Tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on the Fan.
Good morning, James.
For casual and hardcore sports fans, live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. Get the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and much more with real-time, relevant sports wagertainment. Tonight at 7. Bet MGM Tonight, exclusively on the Fan and on the Odyssey app. Your morning jolt of sports. It's the Rob Brown Show. Get up, people! I was gonna do the hype man thing. You were gonna do James Brown, then you realized that you. Get on up! 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 Yeah, please don't do that last thing. I'm just gonna leave it at the first part, I think. Don't hit snooze. Hit play. The Rob Brown Show. Now morning 6 to 10 on the Fan.
The Fan Upstate.
Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFPC HD3 Greenville, the official sports voice of the Upstate Fan.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. What?
These are going to hurt you, sir.
The Rob Brown Show final hour starts now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663 is the number to call the show. It's the number to text the show. You can also get in touch with us by shooting me a tweet at The Rob Brown Show, shooting Lonzo a tweet at Lonzo One Word, or shooting everybody up in here a tweet at The Fan Upstate. I also have to tell you, and you would best believe we're going to be leaning into this for a couple of days. You know what's back? Back again? Guess what's back? Tell a friend. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ray Memorial Hotline is back up and operational. It's been a long time. But the Ray Memorial Hotline is so back, baby. Rob, what's the Ray Memorial Hotline? I'm glad you asked, hypothetical listener. I made up for this exact situation. The Ray Memorial Hotline is my probably favorite method of communication with the show. It's very simple to utilize. Here's what you do. You go to your phone or your tablet or your laptop or your PC or whatever else it is you use for your digital communications. You grab the Odyssey app, AUDACY. It is FREE free. You go to the Fan Upstate page. Once you get there, you click on the little heart icon. Aww. It favorites the station. That way, when you open the Odyssey app, AUDACY, it's free. It's going to take you right to the Fan Upstate page. Once you get to the Fan Upstate page, right in the middle of the screen, there are two buttons. One is a big orange oval. It says, Listen Live. You click that button, and this may or may not shock you, you listen live. 24/7, 365. The Rob Brown Show, Writer Than You, The Rich Eisen Show, Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel, whatever you want. And then, of course, our incredible overnight programming as well. Right next to that little oval button that says Listen Live is another button that says Leave a Voice Message. You click on that button and you leave a voice message. Up to 60 seconds. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Say anything you want.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
It works just fine for me.
Hi, guys!
go to the Odyssey app, AUDACY, go to the Fan Upstate page, click on the leave a voice message button, and say
hello to the bat.
Whatever you want. You can call me an idiot. You can tell Lonzo how incredibly handsome he is. You can talk smack.
Lonzo is a superstar.
About us. You can talk smack about your rivals. You can say whatever it is that you want.
Kiss your mother with that mouth?
If you want. If you want to drop an F-bomb on me, have at it. It is uncensored, it is unscripted, and it won't be held against you.
You can do it!
Anything you want. Go to the Odyssey app, AUDACY. It's free. Go to the Fan Upstate page, click on the leave a voice message button, and leave us a 60-second recording on the Ray Memorial Hotline. Woo! We'd love to have you. Love to have you joining us on what is, without a doubt, my favorite resource of the show. 844-326-3663 is the number to be a part of it. 844-FAN-FONE. If you want to jump on board, you can do it. Okay. Let's get to this. We talked about it very briefly earlier in the show. Let's bring it back up here. The NFL is doing away, at least for this upcoming year, with the off-season edition of Hard Knocks. They will not be doing it with the team this year. We have seen it over the last couple of years. This past off-season with the Giants and the Bears. We have seen it done with Atlanta. We've seen it done with a bunch of teams. Unsurprising to me that they have elected to do away with it. Now, remember, for a long time, it wasn't an option to do Hard Knocks. The NFL would select a team and go, hey, cameras show up Monday at 5 a.m. Make them feel welcome. And these cameras would follow around players and coaches. The early seasons of Hard Knocks were some of the best television I've ever watched. Because as much as it was painful to watch coaches say, cut players and murder their dreams, it exposed us to a side of football, NFL football, that most of us don't ever really get to experience. The hard knocks of the game, if you will. Watching guys get cut, watching guys get injured, watching fights, watching all the nasty, dirty little stuff that makes football that we very rarely ever get the opportunity to see, to hear, to experience. And then over the years, they sanitized the show. After a couple of years, they said, all right, we're not going to show guys getting cut anymore. And then after a couple of years, it was, all right, we're not going to, we may show the lead up to, but we're not going to show the fight. And then we had a year in which the ownership of a group said, yeah, we'll do it. No dirty words. Can't say bad words. No hurty words on our version of Hard Knocks. It got to the point that Hard Knocks became so sanitized that it felt more like you were watching a scripted TV show about a fake professional football league than it felt like I was actually watching guys out there fighting for their damn lives. You know, the compelling aspect of Hard Knocks. I think that was a part of the death blow to this show. The other part of this show that I think was a death blow, I think you can blame the New York Giants for. I think you can blame the New York Giants because of the Saquon situation. Because the owners would not, never have cared if players got hurt. I don't mean hurt physically. I mean, like, reputation-wise, image-wise. They didn't care about that. They didn't care if a guy got cut. They didn't care if a guy, guess did get physically hurt and it was on TV. They didn't care about any of that. But then last year, Hard Knocks was covering the New York Football Giants. They were covering Joe Shane, the GM. They were covering Mara, the owner. And there was a clip that we played a lot on this show last year. Saquon Barkley and his Philadelphia Eagles made their run to a Super Bowl victory and obtaining the title of reigning, defending, undisputed football world champions. A clip that we played many times on this show. The clip was Joe Shane, John Mara, and others sitting in Shane's office. And they were having a conversation about Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was at the time a member of the New York Giants. Saquon Barkley was at the time asking for a new contract. And the New York Giants at the time were trying to figure out, okay, do we keep this guy and pay him a lot of money? Do we franchise tag him and know that's probably the end of our relationship after 1 year? Do we allow him to go out and seek a trade? How do we handle this situation? And there was one particular clip where Shane said, we don't think anybody's going to give him the contract he's looking for. We don't think anybody's going to give him. We're not going to put him on the block because we don't think anybody's going to pay the guy. And then John Mara, the owner of the New York Giants, said into a microphone, you know, I'll lose sleep if Saquon Barkley ends up somewhere else in the division. Well, he did. And not only did he, but he kicked your ass twice. And not only did he, but he kicked your ass twice. And he won a Super Bowl with a team in that division. I assume that John Mara is just straight up anti-Rumpelstiltskin at this point. That man clearly hasn't had a wink of sleep in like 9 months, right? The owner looked real bad. The owner looked real bad. The GM looked real bad. Now, I would even go so far as to say, because I heard somebody the other day on one of the national shows make an argument that whole thing's not as bad as we made it out to be. It's not. They said, you know, if you really look into this scenario and the relationship between Saquon Barkley and the Giants, and you really look at where that team was, they weren't really close to being Super Bowl ready, right? They weren't really close to being Super Bowl ready. And if they're not close to being Super Bowl ready, what's the point of paying Saquon Barkley all that money? Because he's real good at football. Because he helped you be closer to Super Bowl ready than you were going to be without him. Because with that guy, you could cover up a mediocre quarterback, which is, you know, all you've had since Eli left a long time ago. I don't agree with the argument, but I was willing to hear it. Joe Shane and John Mara looked like morons after that conversation. They looked like morons. Shane saying, well, I don't think anybody's going to give him that money. Are you kidding me? The Philadelphia Eagles did, like real quick. John Mara saying, I'd lose sleep. I don't think he's going to go in division, but if he does, I'd lose sleep. He did, and he won a team in your division, the Super Bowl. Hard Knocks is not going away because we're uninterested. Hard Knocks is not going away because they sanitized it so much that we got turned off. I did, but not all of you did. Hard Knocks is going away because it is the first time in the, how many years has Hard Knocks been on the air? Like 20? 17, 18, 19, 20 years? For the first time in right around 2 decades that they've been doing this show, it made the owners look like an idiot. One in particular. It made the owner look like an idiot. I would also go so far as to say,
according to the internet, 2001.
Okay, so 23 years, over 2 decades.
Dude, that's 2025, so that would be 24 years.
Over 2 decades. I was right the whole time, and definitely not. And over 2 decades, almost 2.5 decades, that this show has been on the air. The preseason Hard Knocks last year was the first time that an owner got made to look foolish. They didn't know it when it aired. They didn't know it when it aired when John Mara said, oh, you know, if he ends up in the division, I'm going to lose sleep. They didn't know that when it aired. But then he did join another team in the division. And again, was very good for them and won a Super Bowl. Coaches already didn't want to be a part of it. But the NFL for years said, Texter just said, Hard Knocks is done because 0 teams want to do it. 0 teams have wanted to do it for years. For years now. Nobody wants to do Hard Knocks. That is why there was a conversation going on for a very long time about Hard Knocks being utilized as a punishment. Hey, if your team stinks, you might have to do Hard Knocks next year. If your team sucks, we might send cameras down to watch your team try to fix itself, which, let's be honest, makes sense. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to watch the Eagles off season because they're kings, Kansas City's off season because they're at the top of the heap. But I'm more interested.
So the Panthers and the Saints haven't sucked enough to get.
Well, that's not the only rule is if you suck, you get cameras. There's like other rules too. But tell me right now, under Morgan and Canales, you wouldn't want to watch a Hard Knocks Carolina edition? It'd be must-see TV for me.
I just want Dan Morgan cam where it's not behind him, but just showing his face the entire time when he does anything.
Yes. I want Hard Knocks Carolina. I want Hard Knocks New Orleans. You know why I want Hard Knocks New Orleans? Because it would make my GM and my owner look dumb. And I feel like that's the only way that we're going to get out of this absolute dumpster fire that is my franchise right now.
You finally got rid of the coach you wanted gotten rid of. Will you ever be satisfied?
Mm-hmm. When my GM and my owner are gone. And I don't care. I don't care what it takes to get them gone. I will be happy when my GM and my owner are gone. If it was up to me, absolutely. For sure. So, the reality is here, Hard Knocks is not going away because 0 teams want to do it, right? It's not that. Because no teams have wanted to do it for a decade now, and yet they keep doing it. The NFL was telling them, we don't really care, Oakland, if you don't want to do it. You're doing it. Cameras will be there Monday.
Oakland?
Well, they used to be. Last time they were on Hard Knocks, they were in Oakland still.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah. We don't care, Rams, if you don't want to do it. You're doing it. We don't care, Steelers, if you don't want to do it. Bears, you were doing it. Giants, we don't care. You're doing it. The Giants didn't want to do Hard Knocks. They were forced to. So why'd the NFL decide this year of all off seasons that they're not going to force teams to do it? Because one of their 32 egalitarians got made to look like a dummy nationally. We're still playing that clip. One of their 32 1%ers got made to look like a butt on national television in a soundbite that is still getting played because it's hilarious. They didn't care if they made players look silly. They didn't care if they made GMs and coaches look silly. But the one thing you will not do is make an owner look bad. And that's what Hard Knocks is, so it's going away. Now, what we understand is that instead of doing an NFL season, Hard Knocks is going to do Hard Knocks College. We're going back to campus, baby, and we're going with Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. I'm absolutely watching that. I think Bill Belichick's going to be a disaster in Chapel Hill. I think it's going to be a miserable experience for the Heels. And I'm watching it for that reason and that reason alone, my dudes and dudettes. I'm intrigued to see if the Bill philosophy works out for the Heels. I don't think it's going to. We'll find out. Is that a recruiting tool for UNC? Hey, if you come here and play here, you're going to get the opportunity to put your face on national television on HBO. And how better to get yourself in the NFL picture than that? I don't know. I'm intrigued. All right. We got more to get to. We'll get to it when we come back on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, we'll see if we can get the stroke back. Dead center, baby. God, Lonzo.
Now you have to walk away.
Turnover. Yes, sir. Woof. That's a woof. That's a woof. I don't want to watch my team do math, James. I don't watch my team do anything. I'm broken. I'm a broken football fan. I'm defeated.
Just broken. Got some bad weather moving through here later on. My rheumatism acting up. My knee don't want to work. Sounds like a good time to go home early and take a nap. Except for I can't sleep because my rheumatism acting up and my knee hurt. Hey, we're just a week away from vacation.
I know, right?
Well, I am. You'll have an extra day in there, but I wonder what Cole would do if people started showing up to his remotes asking to race him. I'm not suggesting you do that, by the way. I think it would be pretty funny, but, you know. When you put it out there that you're lightning, that you're fast, so people are going to want to test that. Just saying. Whoever thought this emu commercial would last this long, you know? I'm not saying that I'm against it. I think some of them are pretty funny, but it just, some guy had an idea and went, hey, why don't we put an emu in there? And goes, no, that'll never work. I don't know if that's real, but 17 minutes ago in a turn of events, UNC football and Bill Belichick will not be participating in Hard Knocks all season. But I don't know the guy who posted it. So more at NFL and CBS. Let me go to NFL and CBS. And of course, it doesn't go anywhere near that story, so you just have to look it up.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob, the Great Malonzo, and you be a part of the show. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFO. Let's talk Carolina Panthers here for just a minute, if you don't mind. And even if you do, I'm going to...
I really don't give a...
do it anyway. Welcome back, JJ Redick.
Yeah, that's been this entire show.
Great to have you.
I mean, that's what you've done all day.
I know I probably shouldn't say, this is going to be a good old-fashioned ass whooping.
Don't know. Still don't know if he should. If he should.
I've heard some complaints, and they want me to apologize. That's not going to happen.
This is a take from a cat called Fantasy Football Max. He's got about 14,000 followers across the social media. And he's doing a series right now where he is going through every National Football League team, and he is offering his suggestions on what he would do this offseason to fix the team. I present to you his theory on the Carolina Panthers.
This is how I would turn the Carolina Panthers into legit Super Bowl contenders this offseason. Your favorite NFL series is back. First thing we're doing is getting Bryce Young some skill position help because he needs it. We're sending the 58th pick in this year's draft and our third-round pick next year to the Niners for Deebo Samuel. We're giving them a decent pick here, and for that reason, they're going to take on the majority of his remaining contract. At pick 8, we're taking Tyler Warren. This is an elite tight end prospect. He's going to be a safety blanket for Bryce Young, and honestly, he's a lot like George Kittle. We have to address the defense in free agency though, which is why we're going to pair J.C. Horn with DJ Reed on a 4-year deal, and then we're going to pay Hassan Reddick since we have really no edge rushers on a $12 million deal. This doesn't leave us a lot of room, but we have to get a captain for this defense, and who better than a guy who knows how to win and plays one of the most underrated positions in football, Nick Bolton. We're going to basically hand him a blank check and make him the highest paid linebacker in the league at around $20 million a year.
So, a couple of things that we've got to address. One of the first ones, obviously, is that Deebo Samuel is now off the table. This was posted on Friday. Didn't get a chance to get to it yesterday. But obviously, one of the first conversations that we need to have is that Deebo's no longer unavailable. Now, who will be available? That is going to be interesting. I will say with this, and I wanted to get to this yesterday as well. Didn't get a chance to. But Deebo Samuel's a cheat code. You obviously have to question if Deebo is going to be able to keep it together in the NFL. And I know for some of you South Carolina fans, it gets a little uncomfortable when we talk about a former Gamecock. But as I've said to you 100 times, when you get to the National Football League, your college affiliation means nothing to me. I do not care. You could be from my biggest rival. If you're on my team, I love you. You could be from my school personally. And if you play for my rival, I hate you. That's football, baby. Deebo is now a Washington Commander, and they only had to send a 5th-round pick for it. Now, a lot of conversation about salary compensation. Is he going to be willing to sign an extension at the end of this year to stay a Washington Commander? I don't know. This team was in the NFC title game last year. They're close. They're real close. They're real good. So, that would have been a nice pickup. T. Higgins has been franchise tagged. I think he was the second best wide receiver that was available this offseason. He is now tagged by the Bengals. The rumor is because apparently Joey B let it be known inside of the Bengals office that if T wasn't back next year, then he was going to be P.O.'d. And so they did this to placate Joe Burrow. Now, the Bengals have obviously since said a whole bunch of times, it's because we love T, and we can't bear the thought of him leaving. So we had to keep him around. And if that means the tag while we figure out the next deal, that means the tag. By the way, it doesn't mean that they can't re-enter contract negotiations with T. Higgins to keep him around. It just means nobody else can. So I don't hate it, but T's off the table. Here's a couple of guys I'm interested in that might be available. Still waiting to find out what the Bucks are going to do with Chris Godwin. He has been tagged a couple of times by Tampa Bay. The latest news is that the Buccaneers and Godwin are in the midst of negotiations right now, but they have been since back in mid-February. They moved the automatic voiding of his contract back to March 12th, which means they have until then to get a deal done. If they do not, possibility. Stephon Diggs is set to, should he not resign, leave Houston. Amari Cooper might be out there. Hollywood Brown was only on a 1-year deal with the Chefs. He could be out there. Keenan Allen might be out there. I'm less interested in Keenan Allen, but out there. The reason I'm looking at wide receivers here is because I do want a vet. I do want a guy on the outside to absorb most of the pressure so that Adam Thielen can stay in the slot, Jalen Coker and Xavier Legette can continue to grow and develop. Everything we've said about Bryce Young, I feel equally, if not more strongly about with those two cats. So I do want a vet. My question here is, as I am somebody that is very much a subscriber to the Philadelphia Eagles draft philosophy, which is we build from the offensive line out via the draft, and the guys that play furthest from the ball, we get via free agency, we get via trade. I agree with that philosophy entirely. Tyler Warren, the tight end at Penn State, is a dude. He's a dude. He ain't Brock Bowers, but he's a dog. Zoe, are we good with a tight end at number 8 to go to Carolina?
Here's the thing. It's best available when you are needing a ton of things, and they need a ton of players. So I wouldn't have a problem with it, because you can pick up some other guys later on in other rounds, because I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of picks. So
I am being convinced.
I mean, how important is a tight end in football? Pretty important.
Especially for a young tight end or for a young quarterback. Especially for a young quarterback. That safety blanket. And here's the thing. The reason that I am going to have to be talked into it, and we'll talk to Rashad Beard on Thursday, I'll ask him the exact same question.
How tall is this guy?
I want to say he's like 6'7", 6'8", somewhere in that.
Yeah, so you need a 7-foot tall tight end. For sure. Let
me pull up
Bryce.
I'll go ahead and pull up his combine profile. I got his draft profile. Let's pull the combine profile, which is supposed to be neutral numbers. He is listed as 6'6", 256.
Yeah, pretty hard to miss.
Yeah, again, he ain't Brock Bowers. I'll say this. His combine marked his athleticism score as an 85, a B. A mid-B. His production score was a 98. What that tells me is, and this is why I will have to be talked into it, good but not great run blocker. Very good, but not great run blocker. He's got energy. He's a hustle monster. You can play him as a tight end. You can drop him off into the slot. You can even run him out wide. He can take contact. If he gets lined up against a top-notch edge rusher who is known for physicality and blowing guys off the ball, Tyler Warren's going to be able to hold his own. He is big. He is athletic. He is tough. He is competitive. There's all this about him. As a base blocker, as a guy that I can line up on the edge, over on the left side, double team with the tackle to protect Bryce Young on his blind side. Not great. Not great. He is not great. Explosive, eats contact very well. Not going to get blown off the ball. But it can be worked. And it gets a little grabby. He got away with that a lot at Penn State because he wasn't really a focus there. He's very grabby in a base block, in a run block, in a pocket protect. If you don't run him out on a route, if you set up a option where you line up the tight end as if he's going to run a route, but you keep him on to expand the pocket, he can be beat with speed, not physicality, but with speed, and he's going to get called for holding. Is he an upgrade from Tommy Tremble? That's where I'm kind of like, nah, yeah. 2 years ago, Tommy Tremble, hell, last year, or 2 years ago and 3 years ago, Tommy Tremble, yes, dramatic upgrade. Tommy Tremble last year was respectable. Tommy Tremble has gotten progressively better year by year by year. And so I'm kind of sitting here looking at this, and I'm going, he would be a massive asset for Bryce Young. I mean, massive asset. You give BY a guy that is comfortable right there in the middle, going over the top. Not a deep route runner, all right? You're not going to be hitting the guy deep over the top. But he's real good across the middle. He's real good with less complex routes. Is he? It's not that he's better or not better than Tommy Tremble. I do think he is better than Tommy Tremble. But it's not really about, is he better than Tommy Tremble? The question mark is he better, and so much better that the upgrade from him from Tommy Tremble to Tyler Warren is greater than some of the other guys you could get with the 8th pick overall? Is it better than getting Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M? Mikael Williams out of Georgia is an edge rusher. Armand Membo out of Missouri. That's the guy who did the 40 and he was like screaming all the way down, which I thought was great. Is the jump from Tommy Tremble to go up and get a tight end in Tyler Warren worth passing off on, I don't know, Will Johnson, the cornerback? Is it worth passing up on Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, if he falls to 8? I'm not convinced of that yet. So I can't jump on board with that just yet. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got a few more things I want to get to before we get out of here for the end of the day. Rob Alonso with you, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
By the way, shout out to my cousins and uncles who always tune in.
What up, cousins and uncles?
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's not all of them. If it was, it would up our number a great deal. But still, there's quite a few, and it's cool.
Again.
Yeah, you're not very good.
I keep hitting the divider. Like, not the edge, not missing. I'm hitting the divider.
Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? Apparently it is. What's your name? All right, hang on, Creed.
Creed who hates the show, Creed?
Hey, listen, you know, sometimes there are days that you're unhappy with content. That's how it works. I may not be happy with today's content, but you know what? We move on.
Oh, and you just leave it right in the middle of my read. Get up, get up, get up.
You know, maybe you need to pack it in today. This is not happening for you today.
It's definitely not my day. I'm glad I'm not going to play with the boys today.
Well, it's going to rain. So, I mean, what you keep talking about baseball, I'm wondering if baseball is actually going to happen.
There's also that.
It's definitely, I would ask you if those are rain clouds out there, but I know you probably
I don't know clouds.
Yeah.
I know ball.
You're not a cloud guy.
Not a big cloud guy.
You're a chemtrail denier, which, you know, goes along with the clouds.
I'm also a unicorn denier and a leprechaun denier.
You can't see those. You know what you can see? John Cena turning his back on the world. That's what you can see. I mean, a lot of people speculating. That's why it's going to take 2 weeks to see him again. They're in the studio. Yeah. Ooh. What if he drops a diss track?
Bring back the Dr.
Yeah, with a diss track. Why not?
We were talking yesterday.
And unfortunately, it's all going to be about them kids.
Punk said, "You're going to make a wish you never saw me." Dwayne, you big bald.
Well, then you call them both bald, which was funny also.
More like Break-A-Wish. Apparently, WWE trademarked Break-A-Wish, which is beyond great.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, can you go too far?
Wait, Lonzo, do I recognize the name of one Miss Susan Young?
Yeah,
I do, right?
Yeah,
that just clicked to me.
The first thing she talked about was Cowboy Matt.
That just clicked to me. That's why it clicked to me. I was like,
so at first I was like, are we sure that Chris isn't just using the account?
No, we're not. But
I'm still not positive that he's not, but if she's still on there, Susan could say something that would let me know that she's not Chris.
844-326-3663. Text the show, call the show, 844-FANFONE. Earlier in the radio broadcast, during the audio blitz, he's gone, right? Or is he still there? It's not showing up on my screen.
Well, your screen is broken.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, then let me get Creed up in here before we carry on with the rest of the radio broadcast. Creed, welcome back, fella.
Hey, real quick, we talked about this during the end of the football season. You said it sounded interesting to get back to you. At the end of the NFL season, we had one incredible game, which was Detroit, Minnesota, which decided the division. Treated it kind of like a playoff game. The referees kind of swallowed their whistle. It was so important. But we could have had two of those if the Rams and the Seahawks could have also been that, because they could have had the same record, but the tiebreaker had already determined it didn't matter. The Rams had it. A simple rule change would be the second division game, the second time you play, that head-to-head determines your tiebreaker. And so, in other words, it doesn't matter what you did the first time. Whoever wins the second game wins the division. This would be only in the division, of course, only in the division. But it would make – there's many games over the last 10, 12 years that would have been very meaningful with a simple rule change like that.
Yeah, I think you're going to have two arguments about that, Creed. The first is even if you alternate them every year, team that plays game number 2 at home is going to be furious, right?
But you don't know at the first year. You don't know which team that's going to be.
I don't disagree. Doesn't matter.
At the end of the year, we're always playing a division game. One year it's Tampa Bay and Atlanta. The other year it's Carolina and Tampa Bay. You're right about that. It's luck of the draw. That's true. But it really doesn't matter because you don't know until the end of the year who it's going to be.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But also to some degree, it's not going to eliminate the value of regular season games, but it is going to decrease the value of regular season games, right? Like if I've won enough that I can claim the divisional crown in week 16, and therefore my week 17 game is irrelevant, that gives me a week 17 game that I can overlook and start looking ahead to the playoffs, which, yeah, that's going to decrease fan entertainment in week 17. But, and I've said this before, Creed, and some people agree with me and some don't, the objective of an NFL football team is not to entertain us, it's to win a Super Bowl, right?
Well, yeah, that's true, but I think you're missing the bigger point. The NFL itself, which is bigger than any team, its objective is for the fans. The fans are the most important thing. And that Week 17 game, like Detroit, Minnesota, we could have had 2 of those. And the fans want that. The fans are what drives the revenue.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Creed, appreciate the phone call, brother. Thank you very much for checking back into the show. Not going to disagree. I will say this. The NFL's objective is not entertain fans. The NFL's objective is obtain money and nothing else. Get that money and nothing else. I think if you get, I get where you're coming from, Creed, and I'm not saying you're wrong. Obviously, for the context or the concept of the call, you're absolutely correct. I wish every Week 17 divisional game was for the crown. But the only way that you are going to establish that world where every Week 17 game is for the crown is by decreasing the value of the regular season. In order to add value to one place, you have to decrease the value from another place. And they're not going to do that. Oh, okay. Let's go.
Well, I have something confirmed that I talked to you about off the air. Several different sources saying negotiations have broken down between Belichick, North Carolina, and Hard Knocks, and they will not be doing Hard Knocks.
Really?
Yes.
How do we feel about that? I think I'm okay with it.
I feel like maybe if going public will end up getting more money to exchange hands, and they will end up changing their mind. We'll see.
We will.
I mean, because who are they going to go with? There were other things out there saying that some NFL teams were, or the NFL was upset about them leaving the NFL and going to college football.
I mean, yeah. Again, as we just said to end Creed's call there a second ago, the NFL's objective is not to entertain us. The NFL's objective is to make that money, homie. And because of that, of course, the NFL is going to be upset. But at the end of the day, when you say the NFL is going to be upset, what we really mean is NFL owners are going to be upset. And again, if you are an owner, you kind of have 2 options with this show. Option number 1 is you can be like the McCaskies in Chicago. And when they say you're doing Hard Knocks, you go, okay, but none of that dirty language, No bad words. Not on my football field. And we make fun of it. Or, option number 2, you go in there and you talk like John Mara, Joe Shane, and you just kind of accidentally look like an idiot, and we make fun of you for it. Let me ask you this sincerely, Zoe. 24 years Hard Knocks has been rolling. Can you, off the top of your head, think of a single year where a team definitively came out looking better for having done Hard Knocks? I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but can you think of one? Because I couldn't during the break.
I haven't really watched that many seasons of it.
Okay, fair enough.
So the sample size for me, pretty small.
Fair enough.
I've seen bits and pieces throughout its run.
Yeah, I cannot recall here. I'm not saying it's never happened. I am dumb, and I have a bad memory. I can't recall a single year where Hard Knocks offseason ended and we went, dang, that team's putting something together down there, because it features bad teams.
Wasn't Detroit the last time it was on? Wasn't it pretty good?
I want to. That might be the exception to the rule. And again, I'm show's been on 24 years, and I have not watched every episode of every season, so I could be. I may genuinely be wrong here. Maybe there are a handful of seasons where a team came out looking better than they looked going in, but I don't think so. And I think, like I said, I think at this point, the owners have come to the recognition and the conclusion that it's more likely I come out of this looking bad than the team comes out looking good. It's more likely I come out of this looking silly than I come out of it having people go, I got to buy tickets to go see that team. And that's the point. The UNC thing is very interesting because UNC would obviously do this for money. Obviously do this for attention, for money, get people to commit to watch this show and go, now I'm kind of interested in UNC football, in the Heels, in Chapel Bill. I'm kind of in now. Buy some tickets, buy some merch. Maybe they get a little bit of, excitement generated around the program. Maybe it gets them kind of pointed over in the right direction. But negotiations have broken down. Why? No idea. None. Haven't heard it. Have we seen anything about reporting about why negotiations have broken down? Because I have not. I don't know. I thought to myself, good money-making opportunity, A. And I was going to say good recruiting opportunity. I mean, I guess it still is because you can show off the better aspects of your program, right? You do a Hard Knocks episode about how incredible your facilities are. You do a Hard Knocks episode that maybe you film the boys go into a March Madness game, show all the benefits that come along with playing there. Do an episode where you talk about all the free pairs of Jordan AF1s that you're going to add to the closet if you sign on. Like, there's opportunities there for guys in the future to get intrigued. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if anything comes of it. My suspicion is that we're going to go 1 year without it. We're going to go 1 year without it, and then the NFL is going to go to the owners and be like, look, here's what we're going to do. This is my bet, Zoe. We're not going to do a Hard Knocks offseason this year. My bet is we do an offseason Hard Knocks next year, but with modified rules where the owners and the general managers aren't part of it. It'll be player-focused. It'll be coach-focused, right? We'll follow Dan Campbell. We'll follow Jared Goff. We'll follow Amon-Ra St. Brown. We'll show him doing his podcast, whatever. But we're not going to show the ownership groups. We're not going to show the general managers. We're not going to create a scenario where you guys are going to end up looking silly. We're not going to do that to you. We're going to dial it in on the players. Because again, how many times have we said it? It is the players and the coaches that we watch football for. Nobody has ever said, I can't wait to buy a ticket to go watch John Mara own the Giants. Nobody's ever said, I can't wait to pay my monthly streaming subscription so I can watch Joe Shane GM the Giants. What do we pay money for?
Well, maybe Joe Shane did.
Maybe Joe Shane and his family did.
Yeah, I guess.
No fans did. I'm going to go ahead and say he's not coming up with the TV contract money by himself. So, I don't know. I think we do 1 year. I think it gets to be around next year, and we go modified rules. We're going to do Hard Knocks off season, but we're going to keep it football related. We're going to talk about on the grass stuff. Nothing behind a desk, nothing in an office, right? 100% players and coaches. And they'll pass it off as, after many discussions with our fans, we have come to the conclusion that you as NFL fans are most interested in players and football. So we're going to dial in on that.
Stars, man. The players are
I
stars.
agree. That's why they're going to do it. I will tell you that as a football fan, I'm hella more interested in my GM and my owner and what they're doing, especially as a Saints fan. God, we suck. I'm much more interested in putting a camera on Mickey Loomis and Gale.
If I know those guys, it's probably
your team's good.
For a bad reason.
Right. Your team's good.
Great, even, you could say.
I'd be much more interested in Patrick Mahomes than, whoever's the owner of your team. But
Clark Hunt.
My team, we suck. I want to know why. That was all. That's all I had.
I was supposed to push, but I'm a self-report. I
saw it.
Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna let you off the hook because I kind of threw you.
No, it's okay. I mean, that's it's a game. If you lose, you lose. All right, do first dance.
You got hammered last week.
I did. It was
rough.
it was a very bad week, but we're recovering this week, kind of. I believe that was my first.
Shout
one.
out Bully Rye, who said, "Are we just going to forget that Jatavion Sanders was killing it before he landed on his neck halfway through the season?" That's a great point. I forgot about Jatavion Sanders. You've got a tight end on the roster. That's a good call, Bully Rye. Thank you.
All right, the first thing it's Xing is Fat Tuesday.
Fat Tuesday is Xing. Is that? I thought it was next. No, is that today?
It is today. Yeah, I did. I listened, dude. I mean, it's not my fault. I mean, I had to look it up because I was thinking there's no way Rob would miss Fat Tuesday. But then I looked and the date, I'm pretty sure it said today. I could be wrong. I can look it up again.
No, you're right.
Am I?
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was Xing. I'm like, why is Fat Tuesday Xing?
You have got to be bleeping kidding me.
It's okay.
No, it's not.
It's all right.
It's not. I am.
It's not like you missed Christmas or something. I mean, it's just Fat Tuesday.
It's not just Fat Tuesday. This is a holiday in New Orleans. The children in my hometown ain't at school right now. They're all parading in the street. Yes, there are parades.
Okay.
Rex and Zulu are parading the streets of downtown New Orleans, Louisiana, right now.
At this very moment.
At this very moment.
Are you sure?
They start like 9 a.m. I believe Zulu rolls first. No, excuse me. Rex rolls first at like 9.
Yeah, but
2 hours later, Zulu comes out. They both end up at the big
Central
ball
time
downtown.
now. Central time, right? Or are they?
Okay, fine. They roll in like 10 minutes. The point is,
okay, all right.
I mean it. I don't like me right now. This is the result of doing a morning show.
No, here's your golf game's been off today is because somewhere in the back of your mind you're thinking I'm forgetting something. It's been nagging at you, and that's caused everything to be just a little bit off today, and that's what it is. But now you got the rest of the day to celebrate. Let's play. I don't know how you celebrate on this day. What do you normally do on this day?
Oh, I'm going home to drink a lot of rum.
There we go. You still got time to do that.
Daiquiris.
Just
king cake.
Stay home afterwards, but
Froze myself one slice of king cake to eat today, so I guess I got that going for me.
I guess on this day last year you actually brought king cake in, and it was the first time I ever tried it.
And it was delightful.
It was also the first time you ever actually brought food in when you said you would. So I mean,
Don't try to make me feel better.
There's that too.
I'm real mad at me right now. I'm embarrassed. Like not even like haha funny. Rob's making a shtick. I am genuinely embarrassed at myself right now.
All right, let's move on to something else then.
Come on, man.
The next thing that's Xing is Slay.
I got all my new stuff in.
Slay.
There it is.
Slay. 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 Slay.
It's my favorite thing.
Okay, that's not why it's Xing. It's also my favorite thing.
Are unmatched.
It is Xing because some teeny bopper princess pop star's album is named Slay.
Think NFL.
Oh, Darius.
There we go.
That's right. Okay, so the Eagles have cut Darius
Slay.
And as of today, Darius
Slay
is available to be picked up. I got to tell you, Darius
Slay
might be a guy you could partner back there with J.C. Horn. Maybe J.C. and Darius
Slay
could be the Carolina backfield. I think there's opportunity for Darius
Slay
out there. Where do you think Darius
Slay
is going to end up playing? Buffalo Bills starting DB Darius.
Slay.
Tampa Bay.
Kansas City Chiefs defensive back Darius.
Slay.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive backfield expert in Super Bowl champion Darius.
Slay.
Okay, that's all. That's enough. I've done enough.
Hey, I was hoping that would go that way, and it did. All right, the next thing that's texting is John Jones.
Don't care.
Someone shoulder bumped him in the airport.
I do care now.
There's video.
That's a terrible decision.
He did nothing. He was just shocked. He was just so shocked.
That's a terrible decision.
I think it's a work, by the way. You have to look it up. I believe it's a work.
It's going to end up being like some dude.
Oh no, it's
just some guy.
It's probably like a streamer or something. It's a white dude. He's weird looking, but yeah, it's just I think it's a work. If not, he didn't really react.
I got nothing.
Hey, you know it's Fat Tuesday.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye. Rob Brown Show, Fan Upstate.
Slay.
You can't do that over the liner. Who would do that sort of thing?
I'm going home to change into my purple, green, and gold. I'm so sorry
You
to
got green
everyone
on? You got green on.
This is not Mardi Gras green. This is olive drab green. Okay? I apologize to everyone I have let down. I have embarrassed myself, my friends, my family, my job, and my community.
Here's what you should have done.
I promise to
You should
strive
blame me because I should have told you earlier.
to be a better
I've been
person.
saving it all this time because I didn't know it was that impactful.
I strive to be a better person. I apologize for the mistakes that I have made. I'm better than that. I hope that you all understand at this point that I am better than that. And I will do my best moving forward to reach the high and lofty aspirations that not only do you have for me, that I have for myself. Thank all of you for your understanding. I humbly ask for you to respect my privacy and that of my family at this time as we struggle through this difficult set of circumstances. When the time is right, I will make another statement about my future and what's next. I don't think that this is the end for me. Obviously, it's up to you as friends, as family, as consumers, as listeners. But assuming all goes well and you truly in your heart forgive me, then we will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for your understanding, your kindness, your compassion, and most importantly, your love over all these years. I hope to see you in the future. That's a deep drive by Castellanos.